Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Don't you want to sound rich?
Welcome to episode 30 of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. I am your host, Floyd Johnson, and with me today is Tiffany. She will be here for the first half of the show as we are doing a supersized episode because of the first episode of AEW Dynamite on TNT. How are you, Tiffany?
I am good. I am super excited. I cannot believe it's 1 week away from Dynamite. The very first, we went from counting down to AEW on TNT. Now we know it's going to be Wednesday night Dynamite, and it's a week away. I am so excited.
Yes, we will both be in the building in Washington, D.C. We're both flying out that day. I am praying to the gods of wrestling that there are no flight delays and I get in exactly when I'm supposed to get in. So I'm excited about that. Excited about seeing you and all of the wrestling friends. It's just kind of going to be an awesome show.
It is. Short trip, but it's going to be great.
Absolutely. I wanted to start the show by reminding you this episode of All Things Elite is brought to you by Powerslam TV. Powerslam TV, where you get access to over 4,000 hours of content from over 110 of your favorite wrestling brands from countries around the globe onto your laptop and mobile devices. If you use the code Social Suplex, you get the first month free. Now, I actually have something else to remind or let everyone know. There is a Twitter page, The Wrestle Hub. It's at The Wrestle Hub. And they're doing their second annual Wrestling Podcast Awards. Nominations close on the 6th of October, 2019. They are taking nominations for each show. So, if you like this show, if you listen to this show when it drops, if it gets you all excited, go ahead and nominate All Things Elite Pod. Also, you can think about nominating, or if you like the shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network, go ahead and nominate One Nation Radio, Keeping It Strong Style, The Ricky and Clive Show. They're Getting a Ring. We have a lot of shows on the network. Go ahead and nominate them. And our other host, Amy, does two different podcasts. One's called two other podcasts. One's called The Dragon Den, and the newly started Amy and Andy Enjoy Wrestling. It's like AAEW. It's kind of funny. Well, yeah, I listened to it. It was a pretty good episode. And also, you should nominate The Arn Show because Arn Anderson is Arn Anderson, and I love him. All right, so we taking care of the business part of this. So yeah, 1 week away. Before we get into the recaps of the other show, I don't know many people as good and as passionate about all the Elite and Cody as you. I would say even my love pales in comparison to yours. So next week, next week, even though it's the beginning of a new journey, it seems like the end of the old journey to be legitimate. TV, national TV, is when you get legitimate. So we saw the trucks, we saw the names as they get paired to head to Washington, D.C., or they're already at Washington, D.C. I don't know where the trucks were. So I'm just going to let you go. What does this all mean to you?
Oh man, it's really just I posted a tweet the other day about, especially knowing that Cody is the opening match of Dynamite on the very first episode next week. That when his music hits, I'm just gonna lose it, because I've been to so many things of Cody's, and I've been to his first WrestleMania. I've seen him win the NWA World Title. The first AEW pay-per-view. I mean, there's just I've been to many things. I would slow down, like going for an overnight trip to see Cody wrestle is nothing new to me. So going to Washington, D.C. for about 24 hours is nothing new. So for me, this is just on such another level, because it's not just a match. This is the start of the TV show moving forward, and this is Cody's, company. And when I say that, I know some people will immediately come at me and be like, well, there's Matt, Nick, and Kenny too, but that's great, but I'm not talking about them right now. I'm talking about Cody. So in the moment, for me to have followed Cody's career for, 12 years and see him go through ups and downs and be there for great moments, be there for bad moments, and then to see everything, all of his hard work come to this, where he's, this show is happening. Wrestling is coming back to TNT. All Elite Wrestling is real. And so for me, there aren't even words that I can really accurately express what it means to me. I just know I'm going to be super emotional, because it's just such a big deal. And to be at that first TV, that was something like Floyd told me, hey, don't worry, we're going to be there no matter what. That's something we can't miss. And now we're a week away from it, and I don't even know, I can't wait to see the set. I can't wait to hear the theme for the show. And then just when we hear Cody's music hit for that very first live match on TNT, I'm just going to be a mess, but just so proud of him, because I've said it so much, and I know I'm a broken record, but he works harder than people realize. He loves wrestling more than anyone I've ever met. And, he's just someone who literally wakes up and barely sleeps, but when he does sleep, the minute he wakes up from the time he goes to bed, he's 110% thinking about wrestling. And I think that's why him and Brandy are so perfect together, because not only does she support that, but she's right there in it with him. And if anyone doubts her passion, they really need a reality check, because, Cody and Brandy don't have kids, they don't have families, they don't have outside commitments. This is it for them. And I'm not saying that as a knock to anyone else, because everyone has their thing. But for Cody and Brandy, they eat, sleep, live, breathe this. And so to see this happen for them, to see them in the position they're in, they've earned it, and they're going to own it. And I'm just so, so proud of them.
Yeah, and no one could put it better than you. That's why I had you say it, because you echoed the sentiments of all the people that have been following Cody and Brandy. Some not as long as others. Of course, no one as long as you, because you were day one. But for me, I really started focusing on Cody as a wrestler, and this is so weird, because I liked him in the Legacy, and I liked him when he was dashing, and I liked him when he was in the Brotherhood. But my real man, this guy is good, it's going to be the weirdest thing for most people. It was
I know this too.
It was Stardust.
Yeah, you're a Stardust guy.
It was people were like, "Did you like Stardust character?" I was like, I think they stopped short on it. But what I liked was the passion that he put in something that everybody thought just was a shitty character. But when he went out there, from the time the lights were on, he was 100% into it. Even when I heard that he kind of hated the character, like we went to, I wanted to go to an Access in Dallas, and he was the 1 o'clock in Dallas, and it actually sold out really quick, and he didn't even go as Goldust. He was just Cody Rhodes when you went there. He wouldn't even wear the suit to Access, which a lot of people were disappointed by. I didn't get to go to that Access, so I wasn't disappointed. But I was very much like, oh my God, this guy is talented. And it was like, it took a shitty character for me to realize how talented the guy was. And so of course I went to the WrestleMania in Dallas. And what was he in a ladder match? What was he in that match?
Yeah, that's when he had the polka dot ladder.
Yeah, and it was just, and I was just like, okay. And then, I started paying attention to everything. And I was like, oh, he gets it. All these little things that we think about online. And it's like, man, what would be cool if he did this? It would be cool if he took his love for, comic books and villains and, all his favorite stuff and just put a little bit of himself into wrestling. And then after he left WWE, you really, really saw him put himself into it. And it was just like, at that moment, it was just like, it went from seriously like to love to like, I think he might be one of the best wrestlers in the world. But that just comes from someone that, I like good in-ring work. I love good in-ring work. Don't get me wrong. But I started watching wrestling in the 80s. I mean, an hour match was 21 minutes in a headlock. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh yeah. For sure. Yeah, I've been watching since I was 2, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I mean...
And kind of wanting to elaborate on the Stardust thing, I remember, like you said, that was seeing him take that character, something that he was not into, and even if we didn't know it at the time, I mean, I was pretty sure he didn't like it, but never once, giving anything less than 100%. And one of the things that always impressed me the most about him doing Stardust was that, and this is such a Cody thing, because it's like, Cody doesn't know how to just put on a suit and be like, all right, well, now I'm Cody Rhodes wrestling in a suit. No, he literally created a new moveset for Stardust, which to me was one of the things that I was just like, I was already obviously way on board with Cody. When he came out as Stardust, I was like, what? Like, I didn't know what to think, because honestly, it was the last thing I ever wanted to see happen. But it happened, and I embraced it. And as with anything, you draw out the positives in it. And that was one of the biggest positives, was that I was like, this guy is, he could have just put the suit on and wrestled as Cody, but he literally came up with new moves to go with that character, because I think probably in Cody's mind it was to disassociate himself from Cody, because this wasn't Cody, but at the same time just to put in that extra work to not be settled, content with settling at just doing the same moves in the suit, but to make a whole new moveset. I remember being just absolutely blown away by that, and probably could find tweets from, how many years ago that was, where I could talk about that, because I remember just being so impressed by the fact that he didn't just stick to his same moveset. Not that he didn't do some of the same moves, but he literally created new moves that were for Stardust. And I was just like, this is why Cody is the absolute best. Like, he just always is thinking, always doing more than most, and always doing 110%.
Yes, and I completely agree. And I'm going to stop the Super Cody Love Fest, even though it will continue out through the show. But it's just, it was like, I will easily say the best thing that ever happened to me as a Cody fan. The best thing that ever happened to me is him accepting his release, because, I mean, it was seriously, it took years or whatever it took, but he has fully formed, fully developed into the wrestler he wants to be. And you can see it in everything that he does. So I am looking forward to what comes. The next thing I wanted to talk about before we got to the things is the hate. I was actually talking to Tiffany before the show. As we get closer to TV, I've actually noticed, and I actually posted this on my personal page, that I've actually noticed that the hate for AEW, the shots and everything, is going way up. And it's so weird to me. And then again, it's so weird to me because this group, this company is 9 months old roughly. I know they started working on it before, but they announced and started putting things out 9 months ago. So and they have put on 4 shows. And I was like, how are people hating so much on a show that really isn't fully developed yet? Like
they haven't even had a TV show yet.
Yeah,
I mean, exactly. There's been 4 events.
You don't know what the show is. We know.
Yeah, there's. Yeah, you would think they have an inside book about everything that's about to happen on AEW Dynamite by the way that they're tweeting. That's for sure.
Yeah, because it's just like I'm watching Being the Elite, and I'm like, AEW Dynamite's not going to be Being the Elite. I mean, I love Being the Elite. I watch every episode. I love Road 2. Watch every episode. I actually watch every episode of Road 2 twice. So it's just, I really do love that show. But AEW TV is not going to be those two things. I don't know what AEW TV is going to be. I mean, you follow the Elite closely, but we don't know what the TV is going to be. It's going to be sports-centric, but we both know it's going to be different than the pay-per-views. They've been good. You're not going to get some of the stuff you would normally get in the pay-per-views on the TV show just because they're not. Some of the stuff is not advertiser-friendly. So it's like, how are you hating on something that you don't know what it is yet? I don't know.
It absolutely blows my mind. I feel like you said, closer we get to TV, it's been more and more. I think that, and I'm not going to blame any particular fan base for it, but obviously we know there is a Wednesday night war, and I think that, you have your fans that are going to be passionate on one side and passionate on the other. I am about as passionate as it comes for AEW. However, I don't tweet about the part that I am not supporting, not necessarily, not that I don't support it, but I mean, the side that I'm on, that's what I post about. I post about AEW passionately and constantly, and I feel like, I've always said I would rather be vocal about the things that I love rather than what I dislike or what I don't support or whatever I'm rooting against, however you want to phrase it. For me personally, like, I would much rather post 20 tweets about why AEW is fantastic and leave it there, and then, welcome anyone to post tweets about why what they love is fantastic. But the thing at this point is just people are reaching. Like, yesterday Cody tweeted a picture of the truck that had him and Brandy on it, and I mean, as someone who is a friend of Cody and Brandy's and someone who supports them as a fan, I mean, I was emotional seeing that, and it was exciting. So I can't even imagine how it felt for them to see it. So they're people. This is a big deal to them. Their first TV show debuts in a week. This is a big deal to them, and they're sharing on their personal social media a photo. And, I mean, I believe the license plate said Tennessee. I know Cody and Brandy were en route from Atlanta to LA yesterday. They didn't take the photo. Someone sent it to them, and they were excited about it, so they posted it. And you would have think that they killed a puppy on national TV by the way people were coming at them for posting a photo of their truck and being excited about it. I mean, it was just absolutely absurd to me that they got that much hate for posting a photo. And, I mean, I'm sorry, guys. Like, like I said, they have a right to be excited about this. It's a big deal in their life, too. Things are happening, and I just couldn't believe that. It's just the most recent example of people just reaching. The fact that people were so bent out of shape about a truck, and the fact that they posted a photo of it and were excited about it. And I just think at this point, it's time to just maybe, if you don't want to watch it, then just focus on what you really like and post about that. But the fact that you're just looking for stuff at this point to tweet, you're just looking silly. And I feel like, when I don't even engage with the tweets because I just see them and I just kind of roll my eyes. But it's just coming off absolutely immature and silly at this point.
There are, in my opinion, 2 people that really talk a lot of shit, and 2 groups. One are the trolls. And the trolls are, they follow Cody and Brandy or whatever to say the worst thing that they can to try to get their attention. I've never understand the troll culture, nature, troll actions. I don't understand it. I like to troll some of my friends because it's funny to see their reaction. But to troll people I don't know, I don't really get. Like, I'm not going to just say something bad. Like, I will just use this as an example. Last night or Monday I was watching Raw because I do watch all WWE programming because I actually like the WWE. I wanted to make that clear. I was watching Seth Rollins and he was cutting a promo. And you know what? I think Seth Rollins is one of the best workers. You know, I think if he was in any other company where he was just allowed a little more freedom, people would be talking about him as one of the best wrestlers in the world. I wanted to say that. But he is horrible on the mic as a face. I used to like some of his heel stuff, but as a good guy, he's horrible on the mic. And I put that on Twitter. But it wasn't to get at Seth Rollins. I didn't want Seth Rollins to see. I had an opinion. I was watching Raw, and I put it. If Seth Rollins vanity search and like, oh, I don't think I'm horrible, you shouldn't think you're horrible. You're a great, you know, you're one of the highest paid people in the top of the WWE. Of course you should have confidence. But as someone that has been watching this for 30 years and know what a good promo sounds like, you don't do them. So, I don't know. I can go to a different way. I could go to a different place. I'm stopping there. Hard stop. But I put my opinion out there. That wasn't a troll. That was an actual opinion. But when I look at some of the stuff Brandy and Cody gets, it's just like, it is the most, some of the times, most simple, you know, like, you're not adding anything to the conversation type of troll shit, you know? Like,
right.
Brandy,
there's a difference between having an opinion like you and trolling somebody, and and that's a big part of it. Is like you said, you're allowed to post an opinion, but then there's trolling, and there's a huge, very, very, very fine, very big line between the two.
Yes, it's like add something to the conversation. Brandy, you're not as big a star as Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley is one of the biggest wrestling stars in the world. What did you just add to that conversation?
What? And has Brandy ever tried to say she was?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure she hasn't.
She shared a picture of a truck that she was happy to be on. Cody, I think, actually shared it, right? I don't know.
I think he shared it first, and then she did. But yeah, I mean, and she is the chief brand officer of the company, people.
Yes.
She is, she is part of the women's division. But on top of that, she is the chief brand officer. And also, if you're going to have a truck with, two people on it, and you put Cody, the obvious person to be beside him would be Brandy. And there's nothing wrong with that. And like they said, this is a traveling company with more than one truck. I can't believe we even have to talk about this and clear this up for people who don't seem to grasp that, but they're not going to have just one truck. Cody and Brandy aren't going to be on every truck, and that should just be common sense, but again, people are reaching. So
yes, and Cody chooses not to use the Cody Rhodes name. I don't believe it's a WWE trademark. I think they actually, after a few years it falls off. He chooses not to use the Rhodes name.
Yeah, he chooses not to at this point.
Yes, but on the screen, when they're on the same truck, they can put Cody and then they can put Brandy Rhodes, so you can still see Cody Rhodes together.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's just like it makes a lot of sense on a lot of levels. Again, it's a huge production. Probably either if it's not on the level of WWE, it's like one step less, but I believe it's on the level of WWE as far as production. So they're going to have quite a bit of production trucks, and the production trucks.
Yeah, I would say based on the pay-per-views and just the look of the pay-per-views and everything, definitely on that same level. So yeah, you're 100% right. They're not going to have just one truck.
Yes, so you're going to see. You're going to see Moxley on some, Omega, Hangman. You might even see the damn horse, as I saw one superimposed yesterday. It's just like, but just because you're on the truck doesn't mean you are a big star. I once saw a WWE truck with Apollo Crews on it. That's all I have to say about that.
End of story.
It was like, okay,
Floyd just summed it all up right there.
I was like, they're like, okay. So it's just they put random wrestlers on their trucks. But in AEW, they're a new company. They want you to see the faces of the company. Of course, Cody is probably the vocal face of the company because Tony's not really out there like that. So Cody's kind of the vocal leader, the face of the company. And then Brandy,
Definitely, yeah, he stepped into that role for sure.
Brandy, if there is a female vocal face of the company, that would be her. They are the most out there. They are actually communicating, doing Q&As on Twitter. They are the front-facing group of AEW. As a comparison to the WWE, it would be they are the Triple H and Steph of AEW. Not saying, because I'm not saying they act like them, but that would be the closest comparison. So the second person, people that give AEW shit, is FDSers. That is the known nomenclature we use on the Social Suplex for the Fed Defense Squad, as we call them. And they are big-ass WWE fans. But they're not WWE fans like I'm a WWE fan. Fuck, like I said, I have a WWE tattoo on my leg. They're not... They go a different way with their hardcore. They're hardcore to the point of anything else that you might consider good wrestling, they take offense to if it's not in the WWE. And
which is just silly because you're missing out on a lot.
You know what? Honestly, I will say this. Pre-Cody going indies, Cody going out, I used to think I was a professional wrestling fan. I was like, man, right. I'll just watch professional. But really, I was a WWE fan. I watched Raw, SmackDown, NXT.
Yep. That's definitely a thing. There are people who are wrestling fans, and then there are WWE fans. And not that obviously I'm not saying WWE isn't pro wrestling. Of course it is, but yeah, I mean, if you're in that WWE bubble and do not expand out of it, then yeah, you genuinely are just a WWE fan, and that's fine. But I mean, there is so much out there to really call yourself a pro wrestling fan, especially in 2019. There is just so much that you can actually very easily get to watch and imagine. I can't imagine not opening up to the rest of that, but to each his own. But again, like you said, it's the fans who are so hardcore, but take it to a different degree, because you're hardcore in the sense that you literally watch every WWE show and you enjoy it, and that's great. Like you said, you have a WWE logo on your leg, and that's the good kind of hardcore. But then there's, like you said, there's people who probably have never watched a second of anything AEW's done, but yet they probably talked more hate over it than other people who've actually watched it.
Yes, and that is my problem. Now, I do have some friends that watch the AEW product, and basically their biggest complaint, it's not WWE. It's not going to be WWE. I hope you're not looking forward to be WWE. They are going to present wrestling differently. I don't know what way that's going to be, but that has been their biggest drive home point as far as what their TV is going to be. It's going to be an alternative to what you think what the WWE product is. But like I said, the FDSers are very much. They're all about WWE. It's the most entertaining thing ever. I personally, I can honestly say, I became a pro wrestling fan because I got so like my love for WWE because of the product they were representing actually went down, which I never thought was possible. So I had to try to find alternatives. I started listening for this Kenny Omega guy and trying to find out who he was. And like I said, I remember it was Omega versus Okada at Wrestle Kingdom, which was one of my first full shows, Omega versus Okada. And I didn't really get the show. The reason I got the show is because I had just seen Cody's first match in ROH against Jay Lethal, so then I wanted to watch Cody's first match in New Japan, and it was against Juice Robinson. I believe that's who it was, right? I believe so.
Juice, my favorite.
So it was against Juice
Inside
Robinson.
joke.
Definitely. It was against Juice, and I was like, that's why I actually got subscribed or whatever and got the show. It was to see Cody, and it's like my foray into everything outside of the WWE kind of began with Cody. So that's where, and now I watch everything. You know, I watch New Japan. I watch ROH when it was interesting. I've actually went to Impact. And why did I start watching Impact again? Cody made an appearance with Moose.
Yep.
Yeah, Brandy was on there, and then Brandy was on there, and I actually watched her coming up, and then Cody made the appearance with Moose, and I was like, oh, okay. And that's when I started watching Impact again. So he kind of led me to see a lot of different things I wouldn't see. I think I am a more well-rounded wrestling fan than I used to be, and now, but my basis is still WWE. I grew, so it's just, I want people to know it's okay to like everything. I mean, I'm telling you, give AEW a shot, watch the TV show, get on our page at AT Elite Pod and talk about it. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. Cody was very open about, that in his letter, which that was actually going to be the next topic to come up. But
perfect
yes,
segue.
yes. But for all my FDSers out there, it's okay. I'm telling you, when Chipotle opened up, Taco Bell didn't start panicking. You know what I mean? It's just a different thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I think that my biggest annoyance with this, and then we can move past it, but I have to mention it just because we're on the subject of it, is not so much even people who, because like I said, I don't go around looking, or if I even see people who post like negative things about Cody or AEW, whatever, I mean, I usually, like I said, I'll just scroll on past it because I'm not looking to bicker or debate or whatever with people who aren't, I mean, the thing is, like, obviously we're not going to agree, so engaging with it is just going to start a fight, so it's pointless. And I was actually thinking the other day, I almost posted this as a tweet, but I was like, it could open up a can of worms I don't feel like dealing with, so I didn't. But, in the horror genre, you have people who are hardcore into the Halloween movies and Michael Myers, and you have people that are hardcore into Jason and Friday the 13th. The difference between people who are into those two is that they might passionately love one of the movie series over the other, but they're not telling, you don't have the Friday the 13th fans telling the Halloween fans why they shouldn't like Halloween and why they should like this. And I think that's the biggest thing. So I think I did actually post something about stop telling people how to support what they love and what they should or shouldn't do as a fan. And I think that's what kind of where it stemmed from, is that I don't care if you like WWE. I don't care if you hate AEW. I don't care if you're never going to give AEW a chance, but I don't need you coming at me and trying to counter things that I post positively and supportive to AEW to tell me why I'm wrong or why I should be watching this or that instead, because it's just silly. It's unnecessary, and like Floyd said, it's not adding anything to the conversation. And I think that's my biggest annoyance. You could post all day long about how much you love this, or honestly, if you really feel the need to post how much you hate whatever you hate, that's whatever. That's on you. But when you start going into other people's tweets and replying and trying to start something when they literally haven't tweeted anything but something positive about what they love, that's where I have a problem. And I think that's one of the biggest issues with social media and the wrestling fandom in general is that people won't just let people be.
And honestly, you summed it up. Those are my sentiments. We're going to go ahead and leave that and talk about something super positive, because this is a show about positivity. Cody's letter. I am not going to read the whole thing because it is very long, but I think the last two paragraphs are poignant. I know what's on the other side of the hill, a billion-dollar publicly traded behemoth with 70 years of experience and an expansive network of divisions and subsidiaries, which has ultimately become a monopoly in wrestling. Yeah, I'm a bit nervous. I'm a little scared too, but I'm saddling up in DC anyway, along with the best partners and wrestlers on the planet. I'm with AEW because AEW is for everybody, and I hope everybody tunes in and gives us a chance to shine for you. Thank you. And this is with the hashtag I'm with AEW. If you get a chance, we do have this posted on our page. It's on Cody Rhodes' page. I've posted it on Facebook because the letter is powerful. It is positive. It is light. It is not disparaging anyone. It is what it's like if I wanted a leader in a company, it's the kind of message I want my leader in my company to say. Like if this said Tony instead of Cody Rhodes on it, I'd be like, it's just as perfect because it was a very much a leadership's role. So, what did you think of the letter, ma'am? I saw you post your tweet or whatever, but just kind of in your own words, what did you think of it?
Well, first of all, Floyd knows me better than just about anyone because he DM'd me after Cody posted it and was like, you cried reading the letter, right? And I was like, yeah, I cried reading the letter. Like, he knows me too well. I can't help it. It's just such an emotional connection with Cody. And then when Cody, I love when Cody writes. He doesn't write often, but there's been times in the past where he's posted a blog on Brandy's old blog that she had and different things. And when he writes or posts along like that, like a letter or maybe like a long notepad that he'll screenshot to his Twitter. I just enjoy him writing, and I hope he writes a book one day. And that's completely unrelated, but I'm just going to throw that out there. But yeah, the letter was it was perfect. And like Floyd said, even if it wasn't from Cody, just the positive, surrounding feel of it. It wasn't competitive. It was just simply from the heart. And I think that, that's when you're best is when you're not trying to be anything but just vulnerable who you are from the heart and putting it out there. And just the fact that, the last part where he says to give us a chance. And that's at this point, the people, whether you're already 100% all in with AEW like Floyd or myself, or if you're on the fence, if you've only seen a few bits and pieces, TV is where it really starts. This is where they're really going to be able to show what they have to offer, the route they're going. And I think one of the parts of the letter that was so important, and I know Cody means this with all his heart, is that he wants feedback. And I hope that people will take that and do it constructively and not just send him a bunch of hate tweets, because I know that, with Cody, one thing I would love to just, remind him is he is not going to be able to please everyone, but let me tell you, he wants to. And that comes from a good place because he wants this to be for the people. But I mean, obviously there's always going to be some people that aren't happy, but I think the fact that he put that out there, that's very bold to put that out there, because you're welcoming a lot of people to say, well, here's my hateful tweet you asked for, you know what I mean? So like that's something that I think was kind of very bold, and to put that out there and say, please tell me good or bad, the ugly, I want to hear it all. And I think that really speaks for what AEW is that they care about their audience, they care about their fans, they want to be a fan-based company who actually listens to the fans, because we know, unfortunately, with WWE, what's one of the biggest problems they've had over the last several years is a connection to the fans, which Kenny, Cody, the Bucks, like the connection is just unmatchable with their fans. But as far as Cody's letter goes, yeah, it was just heartfelt, and like it was just so real and just very much, from Cody's heart to the fans. I think it really just shows when you read it just how much this means to him. He even mentioned losing Dusty and how, yes, he had his family and friends with him to offer support, but no matter how much you have that, love and support from your family and friends, there's always going to be something that you need to fulfill that void. And for Cody, it was wrestling for us, and that's 100% like legit. He's not just saying that, like he said, it kind of sounds melodramatic, whatever, but that's Cody, because wrestling is everything to him. So I think it was a perfect thing to do 8 days out from, as of yesterday, from Dynamite premiering, and just really touch base with the fans and basically pour your heart out there to them. So the letter I thought was just a perfect thing for Cody to do, and I loved it. And like Floyd said, yes, I teared up reading it because that's what I do. Cody makes me cry, but in a good way. But yeah, I just absolutely loved it.
I'm not a crier. But we'll talk about something later that literally every time they talk about one of the wrestlers' stories, it always gets to me, like to the point of almost tears.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that later. But it was funny. I posted this on my group. I have a small group on Facebook of fans that I posted it and my friend read it, and the first thing is like, why do they always mention WWE? And I was like, of course I took it with a negative connotation. He couldn't have mentioned it. I think his point is that you want to be separate from the WWE, so you shouldn't bring it up. But I'm like, actually, if you think about it, out of the Elite, Cody worked there. Kenny Omega was in the developmental system. I think Matt did a TV spot with it. So 3 of your 5 people have collected checks from the WWE. And this is
Brandy.
And Brandy, of course. And I brought up this it inspired this post. But what I'm saying is, when people, 3 of your 5 people, and then you include Brandy, 4, are from the WWE. To me, to not say anything, to not mention them, is almost like you're lying, because it is so there. There's nothing else you can do. It's the narrative of the story. No matter, of course, Tony tries to separate it. This is just an alternative. We're not trying to compete. That's his job. He is the owner. But Cody is the cheerleader. He is the leader. He's the fiery. So, and they are probably the most social media friendly company, because they were born in social media. Their wrestlers are all been, built through social media. So I said it inspired this. A war is not the intent, but if you're putting on a pro wrestling show in America on a major cable network, you're competing with the WWE. That's how they see it. To deny it is naive. So for them to not bring it up, it would, like I said, it would be like they're lying. It would go against the spirit of who they are. So it comes down to Cody is very honest. Probably the most honest, outright, almost, he gives too much information at times.
Yeah, it's honest to a fault sometimes.
Yes. So it's like, he'll throw himself under the bus. He don't really throw other people under the bus. He'll throw himself under the bus or whatever. But in this case, it's just being real. You can't deny that there is a war. Now, the war wasn't declared by AEW. The war was declared by, unfortunately, WWE and NXT. They took their exclusive streaming product that comes on Wednesdays. Exclusive streaming product.
To my knowledge, their highest rated show on the network.
Highest rated show on the network. To my friends, the only reason they have the network is to watch NXT every week. And they moved it to a cable network to start 2 weeks before AEW, and they have literally stacked their program. They're going to have a tag team match. They're going to have a women's match, all to start next week. If that is not a declaration of war, you don't have to say the word, but if their actions is not a declaration of war, I don't know what is. To use a very old event, we were not at war with Japan when Pearl Harbor happened. But that action said, bitch, it's on.
Yeah.
That's what the WWE and NXT
Definitely.
did. They said, bitch, it's on. And they're going to put their best program out there. AEW is going to put their best program out there, and it's like, let the victor get the spoils. Like, if NXT freaking fails, which they won't, because they have their WWE Raw and SmackDown lead in, they're not going to fail, right? But if they failed, it wouldn't hurt the WWE at all. They wouldn't notice. They put the shit back on the network. It be its highest rated network show. Raw and SmackDown still worth like $400 million a year or whatever stupid number that they got. AEW, this is their flagship. This is the product. It has to succeed. It means more. So when I look at it and it's like, oh, what are you going to watch? I'm going to watch AEW. Not just because I do this show, even if I didn't do this show. Because AEW needs your views. WWE just kind of wants them.
Definitely.
You can watch NXT Thursday because it'll be on the network the next day. AEW, you got from 7 to 9 on Wednesday nights. Maybe this is my hard sell. I didn't plan on it being a hard sell, but I'm just saying, if you're on the fence, you're like, I don't know which one to watch. Watch AEW. You can watch NXT on Thursday. There's no other wrestling on Thursday, which they could have picked that day. I'm just saying. But you don't always ask for the fight that you're in. Sometimes someone comes up and punches you in the face, and you got two choices. You can either run or you can punch back. AEW's going to punch back. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the war, as I put up my finger quotes. But it is a war. And if anyone tries to deny, it's not a war. Yes, it's a war. The war is with NXT. That is the first combatant. That is the first line put up against AEW. This is a roadblock to stop AEW's success. Let me ask, Tiffany, do you see it as any other way than what I just spelled out?
No, you said it perfectly, and I'm just going to add a couple little things quickly, just that over the summer, Fight for the Fallen, WWE definitely tried to counter-program that by putting Evolve on the network, so they were even trying to start things back in the summer. And then also for the fans that are quick to say that NXT has always been on Wednesdays and that AEW is the one that started it, if you look back in the very beginning of the year, they originally trademarked Tuesday Night Dynamite, but I believe it's because of the amount of NBA games that air on TNT on Tuesdays, they were forced to use Wednesdays. So that was not an original plan. I think the original plan was, which was a very intelligent move, was because wrestling fans were used to watching SmackDown on Tuesdays, it's moving to Fridays, that we would slide into a slot on TNT on Tuesdays when fans are conditioned to watch wrestling, and then maybe pick up some of those views, which would have been great. So the original decision was never to be on Wednesdays, but it is what it is. It's how it is, and it actually maybe it was meant to happen to start this war. Chris Jericho said a long time ago, it's a war whether you want it to be or not. And, you're going to have your fans that will sit there and preach about just enjoy everything. But I don't think you need to be that person. Like, I'm not saying, obviously, yes, enjoy wrestling. That's to me the dumb thing to say because, of course, that's a given, enjoy wrestling. But I don't think fans need to just sit there and not be passionate about what they support because, as Floyd said, this is, whether you want it to be or not, it's a war. And you can take the silent route all you want, but at the end of the day, those ratings still matter to AEW. They still need the views. They still need to be successful. So if you actually are, team AEW or just want to see them succeed as a wrestling fan, like Floyd said, and he wasn't even really going for this point, but it was the most perfect way to put it, is if NXT doesn't do well on USA Network and they decide to pull it, WB doesn't hurt anything. It's nothing to them. It goes back to the network. People watch it on the network, or they leave it on USA, and they still don't care if it gets ratings because, again, they don't need this. AEW needs it. So be passionate. Brandy posted, I can't remember the exact quote, and I'm on my phone, so I can't check Twitter, but she posted something in her Instagram story about if you care or whatever, to be vocal and show love. And that's how I am with things that I love. I'm so passionate, probably as Cody's honest to a fault, I'm passionate to a fault, but I'm not going to change that because, and I wish more people would kind of get on board with that, like Floyd and myself. But yeah, Floyd put it perfectly. You don't, even if you don't want it to be a war, if you want to just sit there and say, hey, wrestling's great, enjoy it all, that's great, you can do that. You also do need to look at the bigger picture that this isn't just, a case of just enjoying all wrestling. When it comes down to Wednesday nights, what you watch, and if you really do want AEW to succeed, then like Floyd said, then watch AEW and check out NXT on Thursday. Give them that boost because it's important and it matters, right? Especially right now, it does matter. It's not just a simple case of it doesn't matter because I can just enjoy everything. But those things actually do matter, and it is a war whether you want it to be or not. So Floyd said it perfectly.
All right. So we got past that. We are going to transition into, because I actually was going to do, and I'm just going to give you a little production. That went a little long. I didn't mean it to, but
And Floyd and I get talking.
Yeah, we get talking. So I was gonna do the Road to and BTE preview review on this show. Actually, gonna save that for the second half of the show with Amy. So it'll be at the beginning of the second half of the show with Amy. What we're gonna do right now, because I know this could take a few minutes, is we're gonna jump right into the TV show preview. We got some matches added on Road 2. We got a match suggested on BTE, but I don't know if they're going to do it. On BTE, just to throw this out there, there was SCU was in a room. They got a box. It had a toy, like a toy boy. It had a toy dinosaur, and it had some magazines with a Jungle Boy on it. So basically, it was like Jurassic Express. A Jurassic Express challenging SCU to a rematch, and they kind of said it's on. But then on Road 2, they went through the official match card, and they didn't say it was going to be on there. So I don't know. I really, I'm just being honest. I really don't know if that match is going to be on there. So tentatively, we got SCU versus Jurassic Express in a six-person match. I will imagine if it happens, it'll happen in that period of time before the show or after the show, because we found out we're going to have pre-show matches and we're going to have post-show matches. So maybe that's.
I could see it being an opener on the pre-show for sure. It would be a good way to get the fans pumped up if it does happen. I could see that for sure.
Yeah, because SCU is they really are the new age outlaws of AEW. Their entrance just gets everybody pumped up. It gets exciting. I even compare it to Enzo and Cass. I know everybody's like, "Oh,
it fires you up, man."
Yeah, but I remember during a dead show at WWE, you could just fire up Enzo and Cass's intro, and Enzo come out and do his thing, and everybody's standing up and chanting, and it's just this magical thing, and it's like
wakes everyone up immediately.
Yeah, it's something about doing the sing-along thing that wakes people up. So that's what SCU brings into it, and then freaking the Jurassic Express are so over that also gets the crowd into it. But TV show preview, this was from Tony Schiavone. These are the official matches announced. First match on the AEW, and it's kind of weird that this is the first match because I felt like we've been over talking about Cody, but guess what? We can talk about him out one more time. The first match on televised match for AEW Dynamite on TNT will be Cody versus Sammy Guevara. Now, I know who you're rooting for, but do you have any other insights as far as what makes you excited for this match?
For me, I'm excited for it because I haven't seen it, and that first and foremost is the best thing that could possibly open up the very first Dynamite episode. Is a match that no one's ever seen. So to see Cody versus Guevara, I think it's going to be off the charts. Guevara's so quick. He's so fresh. He's so, he's young, and it's just the style that I feel like Cody, if you paid attention to his social media, he said he is shedding pounds like crazy, getting the leanest and, best shape of his life. And I think, he's doing that because he wants to be able to keep up with someone like Sammy Guevara in the ring. So I can't wait to see what Cody brings. Even at the match at All Out, he was doing moves that I haven't seen him do before. He kind of did like a Oz cutter, and it was phenomenal. Cody, he's always bringing new stuff to the table. As far as Guevara goes, I've only seen him a few times. Everything I've ever seen, I've been impressed with. I'm excited for this because I think it's going to be a quick-paced match. Going to be rooting for Cody, of course. I don't think Cody will lose just because it would just so heavily affect the Full Gear match, but there's a lot of factors. We know Chris Jericho will be in the house that night. We know MJF will be there. I don't know. As far as the prediction, and I think that's what I love so much about this, is that it's not written on the wall. It's not obvious who's going to win. So I can't wait to see how it unfolds. I just know it's going to be a wonderful match to open up the show. I think people will be so pumped to see Cody. He really fires up the crowd. The fans, they eat out of the palm of his hand. And then you have someone like Guevara who's going to, even for people who don't know him, by the end of that match, they're going to be like, damn, that guy's good. I can't wait to see more of him. And I think that's why Cody wanted an opponent like that for his first match on Dynamite.
Sammy, the first time I ever saw Sammy wrestle, again, I don't just I don't watch 60 hours of wrestling a week. It's something like 15 to 20, which so the first time I saw Sammy wrestle was last year at the first show that the show where I actually introduced myself to you, NWA 70, and he was wrestling the Laredo Kid, I believe, or I don't remember who he was wrestling, honestly. Or he was in that he was in like the Fatal 4-Way for the shot at the national title. All right, and he blew me away. He was very good. He was very good. I just thought he was super entertaining. I just thought he was I just thought he was great, and I was like, man, I want to see him some more in the future. Fast forward a few months and he gets signed to AEW, so that's kind of crazy. Now he's wrestling against, quite easily my favorite wrestler. I think Cody does a good job of. There was an old school thing where, I remember when they had a young Barry Windham and they put him in a match with Ric Flair and he went 60 minutes and he lost. But in that match, everyone saw Barry Windham as a contender. They saw him as dangerous. For sure. Cody is very good at doing that also. He's a student of the game. He's going to find a way. Even if he wins, he's going to find a way for Sammy to get over, And that is super important and super important as far as building this brand, because you're going to need people outside of the Jericho, Moxley, and the Elite to get over. You need new stars. So this is going to be a chance for Sammy to be a new star. But the stipulation, the thing that Cody says, if he loses, he's not going to Full Gear to wrestle Sammy Guevara. Now, I will say, if he loses, you will actually see a grown man crying. Because
me too.
Pretty much, I'll put all my eggs in the Full Gear basket of Cody being in the main event. So I don't want him to lose, but, there's a part of me, like 95%, 97% of me, Cody wins. But there's that 3% in me that's like, man, tell me that wouldn't be a shocker. Tell me that wouldn't tell you that AEW is different if it's Sammy Guevara beats Cody. That would be,
I'm with you on that. I don't have that confidence just because I'm with you. I want to say with all certainty, 100%, Cody's winning, but I'm with you. I have that slight, I don't want to say doubt because I don't doubt Cody, but yeah, it's hard to not to have that slight worry, I guess. And one scenario I saw someone tweet, which I was kind of thought was interesting, and I just want to mention it since we're talking about the match, was if Sammy were to win, it doesn't really take away that Cody, up until that match, has the best win-loss record and has had the most, important matches on the shows. Do they make Full Gear a triple threat match and put Sammy in the match with Cody and Jericho? Is that a possibility?
That would be
cool. And that would really put Sammy up there as a contender no matter what happens at Full Gear. Because, I don't think that if Sammy beats Cody, it negates everything Cody's done up to that point. However, him beating Cody would put him in a contendership that he wasn't before the match. And so maybe that's where it goes. But Chris Jericho and Cody for a singles match down the line and build it up even more.
I'm telling you, that would make AEW so much different from any other company. Because
truly would.
Because if basically if WWE announces the main event, that's the main event. It's just going to happen. And if
nothing
Japan,
affects it. Yep, nothing affects it.
ROH, any other company in the world, they wouldn't change their main event based on a match that happened before it happened. They would figure out a way. So I think that would make AEW separate if Sammy goes ahead and wins. So for the love value, I'm going for Cody. For the pure shock value, welcome to AEW. This shit is different idea. I'm kind of rooting, that small part of me rooting for Sammy Guevara. And that was hard to say. It literally felt like
I know. My heart just dropped when you.
I felt a little acid on my tongue, like I had heartburn or something. It's weird. I root for Cody. It's not clear. But I'm just like, to me, it's looking at the bigger picture of AEW as a show. It's like, they're going to need something big on the show. I know it's going to be something big. I just don't know what it is. So, and that's another thing that's going to have me on the edge of my seat. Then we have another second announced match was Brandon Cutler versus MJF. Now, Brandon Cutler is the guy I was talking about earlier.
I knew
Every
it.
time they play his story, oh my God. Like the first time they did it, where they did the contract signing, dude, I'm not a crier. I'm really, really not. I mean, I've seen a lot of big things in my wrestling life and as far as sports life. I'm not a crier. But yeah, when they dropped that contract on him, yes, tears in my eyes. And every time I hear the story, it brings me back to that moment, and I get a little choked up. So yeah, so it's crazy because he's like, clearly, he's like one of my favorite wrestlers because I just root for his story. But then he's going against probably, to me, the best heel in wrestling. You know, the hottest up-and-coming person. Dude, I just like being around him when he's insulting people. He is the salt of the earth, MJF. So, and we got a special request. We got a special request from Amy's husband, Andy, to start a D&D chant. So I will find you in the audience. We'll make eye contact, Tiffany, and we got to start this chant, D&D. So no, but he's like, wait till you hear his music, and I'm guessing his wife does the gear, so he's probably gonna have some kick-ass gear. But what's your thoughts on this match?
I'm very excited. It's such a classic heel-face dynamic, which you don't see in wrestling very often anymore. So in this point in 2019, people, not to say people love MJF, but they love to hate MJF, and Brandon Cutler is just such a babyface in every possible way, and that's going to be his biggest thing going into this, I think, is having that fan support, and he's great. I'm with you on his story. His story touches my heart, and I want to root for him for that and also his wife Denise is just amazing, and I love them as people, and as a wrestler, he's great, and I'm just so happy he's in the role he's in because, you know, there's no shame in setting wrestling aside to start a family and to put your family first, and for him to be able to do that, and then for it to come full circle and be in AEW and going to be competing, I'm so happy for him. But then you have MJF, and I don't know, I'm sure that most people have noticed more and more, I can't stop singing the praises of MJF, and I just truly believe, and this is like, and I say this as, obviously, Cody, everyone knows Cody is my guy. I don't have to even tell you that. But MJF is truly going to be AEW. And I believe that. And I don't think there's anything that can stop him. I think people are going to connect with him immediately. Not so much connecting, obviously, they're not going to relate to him. But you're going to look at him and see star. The people who don't already know him are going to look at him and see a star. I could picture my dad. My dad's very old school wrestling. He boos the heels and cheers the faces. He'll text me about, I hate this guy or that guy when he's watching Raw and SmackDown, and it's adorable. I could see my dad easily first night texting me about how much he hates MJF, and I can't wait for that text. But that's why MJF is so good, because he brings a reaction out of people, and that's what you need. And, I mean, he's already on that level, and just when he gets to, like I said, the only thing holding him back is the fact that he has not been on everyone's TV yet, and that happens in a week. And I'm just so excited. As far as this match, it's another, and that's what I love so much about AEW, is it's not predictable in the sense of who wins, because I could come up with 10 reasons why I think MJF's going to win, but then I can come up with 10 why I think Brandon's going to win. And that's what makes it even more interesting, because every near fall, every time you're on the edge of your seat to see who wins, you're going to be invested in this. And they've built the story up really well with, you know, and then the fact that it gained, you know, you had like Hollywood actors backing Brandon against MJF about the Dungeons and Dragons thing. I mean, it's actually received a lot of attention. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on this match too, which I think actually makes it way bigger than people realize. So I'm excited to see it. I don't know who's going to win. I honestly would love to say a prediction, but I could see it going either way, and I'm just really, really excited to see how they play this out.
Me too. I was a big fan of Brandon's story. I actually have watched a couple of his matches. I dig his moveset. MJF is very much an old school wrestling heel. I mean, seriously, I could see the guy in Oklahoma. I remember I was watching, I was at a Raw, and there was this guy, and he was probably about 15 years older than me, 20 years older than me, and he was like that old school wrestling fan, and he was like, I remember Ted DiBiase Jr. was in the ring, and for a solid 10 minutes during his match, you ain't gonna never be as good as your daddy, boy. You ain't gonna never be good as your daddy, boy. Just kept saying that exact same sentence over and over.
I don't know who this is, but I can picture him.
Over and over again for 10 minutes until he was completely off. He's like, you know what? You're never gonna be as good as your daddy. And I was like, I laughed my ass off. I was like, I don't even remember the match because I was like, is he gonna? I mean, he had to be exhausted, because he kept saying
he wore himself out.
Yes, no, but I could see him doing that to MJF and booing him and throwing his dentures at him or whatever. But it would be hilarious. So yeah. So I love that good old MJF. It's funny being old school makes you different in the new school. So he does it, and I love it. And I honestly don't have a prediction. I'm thinking MJF wins because I think he is the future of AEW. If the Elite all retire, I think he's their top heel. The Elite and Jericho all retire, I think he's their top heel. I think he's going to be the heel face of the company one day, and so I think he's going to win, but I have no problem if Brandon pulls out an upset because that would piss MJ off more, and I think the promos after he lost to Brandon Cutler would make me laugh really, really hard. So I think it could go either way, just like you.
Oh, man, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Now, the next match, it is not the official main event, but to me, it's the main event. It is my emotional main event. It is the AEW Women's Championship match. Nyla Rose versus Rio. I'm just saying, I've met her. I liked her. She's nice. She's awesome. I'm all in on Nyla. Sorry.
Me too. Team Nyla here, man. Team Nyla.
Team Nyla.
I can't help it. Nothing against Rio. I think she's phenomenal, but Nyla is my girl. I want her to win so bad.
Yes, I liked Rio's little video package where you got to know a little bit more about her, and she's tough and everything, and she's actually pinned Nyla in a triple threat match. So don't get me wrong, I know she can win, but I will be rooting really, really hard for Nyla Rose, and I'm kind of disappointed if she loses, especially since it's in her hometown.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And what you just mentioned, that Rio pinned Nyla in the triple threat match. Once again, guys, talk about long-term storytelling in AEW, and they haven't even gotten to TV yet. Just the fact that you can say that, Nyla won the Battle Royal, Rio won the match at All Out, and it creates this match, and you can say, because right off the bat, it's the size difference, but then you could say, well, hey, it didn't matter when she pinned her over the summer. So, I mean, that just, to me, is just another speaks volumes of the storytelling we can expect from AEW, and I'm excited for it. But to the match itself, oh my gosh, I'm with you. Maybe it's the emotional connection, maybe it's the fact that it's her hometown. I just love Nyla Rose so much, and I'm so 100% all in on her. It's one of the matches where, I mean, I'm not going to be mad if Rio wins, but I will be genuinely disappointed if I don't get to see Nyla become the first women's champion in AEW.
Yeah, I was going to say, if Nyla Rose loses and you're scrolling through the screen and you see my face, it will be actual sad face. I will be sad.
100%. One and I both will be looking across the arena at each other, just pouting.
Yeah, it's like, what happened? No, that wasn't supposed to know. But we will see. I mean, if you're trying to get the Joshi style really, really over, going with Rio is great. But I like Nyla being the monster that the next baby face or whoever has to overcome and has to be better than. I like that storyline. But again, we don't know how they're going to, to run their show in the future. So they might be building up to something bigger, So
definitely. And I do think, real quick, with Nyla being the first, transgender woman in a women's division, and if she were to win the title, I mean, to me, that's huge in itself. Whether you want it to be part of the story or not, you can't take away who Nyla is, and she is transgender, and she's proud of that, and she should be. And I absolutely love that AEW has never used her as a novelty act. She just is a woman in the women's division. But if she does come in and win that title next week, I feel like that is going to be some really awesome, a lot of, that'll take note. I think other, not companies, but, there will be a lot of people that will take notice of that. And I think it shines a very positive light on AEW. And I don't know if it'll be a factor in whether or not she wins, but just throwing it out there, I think it would be an awesome thing and just such a win for not just for Nyla, but for the LGBTQ community, because, AEW is for everybody. And that would be quite a statement to make. And you're going to have your negative people, and that's something I just will not engage. But not only just the fact that Nyla's amazing and we absolutely love her, but it would just shine such a positive light and really emphasize that AEW is for everyone. And our very first women's champion is a beautiful, talented transgender woman. And Nyla, I just think she would carry that title with pride, and it would be such a moment. So I'm just, once again, just Team Nyla all the way.
Absolutely. I think the matches you can get out of Nyla, if you wanted to do Nyla versus Kong at at Full Gear, I think that would be a good match.
Everybody wants to see that match.
Yes, everybody wants to see that match. Just a big, hard-hitting match. I just think there's a lot more you can do with her. But, again, Rio would be the beatable champion because she's so small. She would be the underdog champion. So anybody you put against her would have a chance of winning. So that will put that threat out there. I think you could go positives on each way. But, like I said, hashtag Team Nyla. It's not even a thought process when it comes to this group.
Definitely.
Then we got Hangman versus Pac. That was just announced
today. That was just announced, yes. Today we get it, finally.
So we get the match that we were supposed to get. It was supposed to be on the first show. It was supposed to be at All Out. This was the
Double or Nothing.
Yeah, a Double or Nothing. This is supposed to be part, like, the culmination of Full Gear Challenge. We didn't get it. Doesn't really matter why we didn't get it, but we're getting it on the first show. And I'm kind of glad we're getting it on the first show, because if you look at this card, every match means something. Every match has a story. Every match is going to, the win or the loss is going to have implications going in the future. Because if Hangman loses, he goes to 0-2. He was pretty much who AEW backed as the future face of this company, the face of this company. The biggest star in this company was Hangman. So he would go to 0-2. And then Pac, if he wins, he's already beat Kenny Omega. So he would go to 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, what?
Yes.
So one of those victories being Kenny. If he beats Hangman, and like you said, Hangman, he was going into it as he's the guy. He's going to go for the title, and he's the AEW guy going against Jericho. And this match does have huge implications.
Yeah.
In both ways. No matter who wins, it's going to be really, really good for one or really bad for the other.
Yes, after Hangman starting 2-0, which you would count the 1 as the Battle Royal win and 2 against Kip Sabian. He started
Kip Sabian, yep.
Yeah. So he lost to Jericho 2-1. This would put him at 2-2. So he would have lost 2 matches straight. And it's funny, if Pac wins, he will have the same 2 wins as Chris Jericho.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so, and that stuff matters. Wins and losses matter in this company. So if he wins, he can easily say, where's my title shot? I've beat the same 2 people your champions beat.
And now that you mention that scares me a little, because leading into Full Gear, assuming Cody is still in the match with Jericho at Full Gear, I'm on the fence, and we're not going to really get into, obviously, full gear predictions anytime soon, but just on the fence on if I think if this is Cody's night or not, I don't know. But if it's not, and Jericho retains a win over Hangman, talk about the writing on the wall for the next contender, possibly for the title.
Yeah, and Jericho, the big thing is Jericho has a title defense. I think it's either on the second or third week of the TV show.
He does.
He has to get rid of. Would this set up Pac to be that contender?
That's very possible.
Because at that point, again, he would have beaten the same two people Jericho has beaten. So, he's beating the same two Jericho's beaten. Jericho's undefeated. He's undefeated. It seems like it would be obvious that he gets a title shot. This could start the Hangman Redemption Tour. So I'm looking forward to it both. The surprise tap out on Kenny Omega was amazing. And I think Pac versus Jericho, man, I know they're both quote-unquote heels, but the heel-face dynamic, just because you're both heels doesn't mean Pac doesn't want the title. You know what I mean? So that's cool.
And I don't think we're going to have to worry about that. This is all speculation. We haven't seen TV yet, but I'm hoping, and I feel confident in thinking that maybe AEW is not going to always have to give us that heel face in a match. If Pac wins and losses matter, it's a sports-centric show. If Pac is the guy that has the best record and, like you said, defeats the two guys Jericho's defeated, it makes sense for him to be the contender, and I think they'll give it to us. It's not going to be a case of, well, wait, we can't have two bad guys, in a match. No, we're looking for a good wrestling match. It doesn't matter if they're two bad guys. You can still build a great story if it's two bad guys or two good guys for that matter. So I don't think that's going to be a concern, and I would love to see it at some point for sure.
I definitely agree with you on that. Yeah, it's just like I said, there's a lot of ways this can go. I'm going with Pac as the winner. I mean, I want Hangman to win. He's my 5th favorite horse ever. But I think Pac's gonna win. I think it leads to the better story. And like I said, you're gonna need challengers for the champion. It would put Hangman at 3-1 with the loss to Jericho. It would put Pac at 2-0. And I'm like, I kind of like I like where the Pac story could go. But, like I said, it could start Hangman's redemption.
Definitely.
So, all right, in the last match, the main event, as in the last match that's going on, it's going to be the original Elite, Kenny and the Bucks versus Jericho and 2 mystery partners. Now, Tiffany, this is the time. I know it's a week before. It's a little long. They might give us – I don't think they're going to give us any more hints because we already saw Road 2. Who do you think his partners are going to be?
Goodness. I'm still not entirely sure. I don't have a concrete prediction. We did see LAX debut out, and I'm going to go with them as my prediction. But we have the Lucha Bros. But the Lucha Bros teaming with Jericho would seem a little strange. So I'm going to say LAX. That's my prediction.
And it's funny you brought it up because, of course, my original prediction a month ago was Enzo and Cass. Well, there's been some stuff that happened.
Unfortunately,
there's been some stuff, so that's not going to happen. I am going to go with an outside thought. I am going to go with them going towards storytelling. I'm going to go the Dark Order.
Oh, okay.
And, they're Canadian. They're both Canadians.
Yeah.
And they don't like the Young Bucks. So
that's a good point.
Yeah,
that would tell a good story.
Yeah, that would tell a good story. I truly say I do believe it's going to be somebody that is not currently in the company. I do think it's going to be like somebody that pops, But I think the Dark Order. Has been having a hard time getting over. You want to talk about giving them a rub? Tagging with Chris Jericho would definitely give them a rub. And presenting them as heels even further, as the Dark Order. Also, they're both in the tag team tournament, and that is a possible final. So there's a lot of long-term storytelling that could go into the Dark Order being the tag team. I'm kind of talking myself into something I was just saying to be different.
It's not a bad prediction. I'm not going to lie. I think it's good to be open. I always post positivity constantly about AEW, and this isn't a negative comment, but I have to be honest. I'm having trouble caring about the Dark Order, and I'm just being truthful. And I'm not trying to be negative, but I also think in order to be taken seriously, you have to show that you don't just always have positive opinions. I just choose to focus on the positive opinions. But I am having trouble. I'm struggling with the Dark Order. And I think that's going to be with anything. Nothing is going to, not every single thing AEW does is going to be something Tiffany loves. That's just life. But I think that would be a great way, and it's not something I even considered. But Floyd's prediction, and whether he was doing it just to be different or not, but as he started talking about it, the little things all kind of started adding up as to why it would make sense. And even as someone who's not fully in on them, I would love to see it because I don't think people would expect it. I think people would be initially like, what? Are you serious? But I think as the match progressed, which is what you want, that maybe it would help elevate them to where they need to be, being part of the tag team division, and clearly a big part of the tag team division. So
yeah.
I think that's a great prediction.
And Chris Jericho kind of has a dark gimmick. You know what I mean? He's kind of like, the face and the crazy.
He comes out with the face, the hat, and he comes out with the paint on it. So definitely.
Yeah, kind of. Like I said, it was like something I honestly said just to be kind of different because everybody's been saying LAX Lucha Bros. I'm like, well, I always say Cody tends to zig when everybody else zags. You know what I mean? It's just
he does.
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah. So,
And I think the Bucks are pretty big on Dark Order.
Oh no!
Obviously,
they love them. They love them.
Yeah. So that's another big thing. That's their division, is the tag team division. That's where they have probably the most say in terms of booking. And I mean, obviously, if they can think of a way to put them out there and get them over, and I think Floyd's prediction makes sense. So we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of options. Like, there's still an possibility of it being a tag team we haven't even seen in AEW yet, and that's what makes it exciting, is that we really don't know. But to me, I mean, you could argue that LAX coming out and destroying the Bucks and everyone, and the Lucha Bros at All Out, that would be like who Jericho would pick. But, you have a lot of long-term storytelling riding on possibly having Dark Order in that match, which would really help put that, the storytelling as far as the tag team tournament goes. So I really think that's a very good possibility now that Floyd mentioned it. So really curious now.
And just another wrinkle is, like, a lot of us are assuming it has to be a tag team. It could be somebody.
That's true too. It's just has two mystery partners.
Yeah. It could be Jericho, Moxley, and I guess Pac's already on the show. But it could be another guy, you know what I mean? It could be.
That's a good point.
It doesn't have to be a tag team. It's just
mystery partners. It doesn't even say a mystery tag team. It literally says partners. So that's just two guys he wants to team up with that night against the Bucks. So it doesn't have to be a team. And we're all thinking teams. So that could be another thing that just completely blows our minds.
Yeah, they have a huge roster of people not working so far that night. So they could go a lot of different ways with it. I'm looking forward to it. I feel like there's going to be other surprises during the show, but that could be a huge surprise. Oh, now I got it. It could be Jericho, Moxley, and Shawn Spears, all former WWE guys. WWE against the Elite.
That would be wow. I would love that, actually. That would be awesome.
Yeah, so
awesome
it could be
way
all
to do
former
it.
WWE guys.
You feel like you've got to have Moxley wrestle on that show. We know he's going to be there. And wow, Floyd, I think Floyd just blew my mind. So,
yeah, so it's like
he just completely blew my mind.
Yeah, so like, dude, you'd have those three, and literally your main event could be WWE versus the Elite. Won't be saying it, but it'll be there, and it'd be kind of crazy.
But it would be wow. That would be something. I would really love to see that, honestly.
But that is the first half of our show. Thank you, Tiffany. We made time to get the show done this week. I love all of your insights. And again, the reason us three do this show is because our positivity matches each other. That's why I started the show with proclivity for positivity, because we are all people that, no matter how much something is bad, we try to twist it and look at the bright side of things. We have our bad days, we have things we don't like, but a lot of times it's how you take it in is how you take it in is how you process it. And we try to put a positive take on everything. So thank you, Tiffany.
Absolutely. I couldn't ask for two better partners than you and Amy, so I'm happy to be a part of it.
All right. Well, that's our first hour. You'll hear a pause, and then it will be me and Amy on the second part. Thank you. Welcome back to the second half of episode 30 of All Things Elite. I am Floyd, and with me, of course, is Amy. How you doing today, Amy?
I am doing fantastic, Floyd. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I am well. Before we get into the full second half, is one thing I wanted to put over, and it's become like one of my new favorite things. It's this simple podcast I listen to called Amy and Andy Enjoy Wrestling. AEW. Yes, so I listened to the second episode last night. I've listened to both episodes in full. I am going to tell you, if you're listening to this show, I am not a person that just puts over podcasts. There's a lot of podcasts I don't listen to. There's a lot of podcasts I listen to and I don't really tell people to listen to because I don't enjoy them. Well, I'm going to tell you, Amy and Andy, it's funny because it's just like an hour conversation of them talking about wrestling. It's the most natural conversation and podcast I've had. It's more less than a show. It's more of, hey, do you want to hear these two people that are married that enjoy wrestling talk about wrestling? It is probably one of my favorite shows now. Like I said, it's a must listen. I'm not just putting it over because Amy's on. She didn't even know I was about to say any of this. So, so check it out. It's on Podbean or any podcast. My app is Podbean, so it downloads pretty much immediately as soon as they upload the show. But you and Andy are doing a great job.
Dude, I am grinning so hard right now. I had no idea you were going to lead off with this. That's the sweetest. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. We have so much fun doing this.
And it comes through. It comes through.
That's great. Yeah, we're just hanging out. We're just talking wrestling. And we were thinking about when we go to StarCast and we hang out with all of our friends and we talk wrestling and we're like, maybe we should just do that. So we did that, and it's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for the shout out. That's incredibly kind of you.
Yes, and like I said, if it wasn't good, I just wouldn't have said anything. I'm nice. Yeah. I just wouldn't have said anything. I'll just kind of let it lie, and like, hey, Amy and Andy do a show, whatever. But no, it was like I was at work and it downloaded, and I pressed play, and I was like, man, it's a really good show. It's like, and very rarely, any podcast, I enjoy Voices of Wrestling, Everything Elite. I generally break them up into about 20 to 30-minute segments because I got the ADHD, and I just can't focus for that longer time. But, I listened to your show all the way through. It was done.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's one of the most natural listens. Like I said, I wouldn't put it over if I didn't like it.
Man, that just completely makes my whole day. I'm grinning so hard right now. That's so wonderful. Because, there are so many podcasts out there. We have our own show right now, and it's nice to be able to just kind of sit back and talk wrestling. And then I love that we get to jump on together here with you and I and be like, all right, man, let's go down these cards and we're going to talk wrestling. We're going to talk news. It's nice to have both of those elements, a very relaxed conversation and a very professional one.
Yeah,
so I love the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's like I love that y'all have y'all thoughts, but it's not like we're going to talk about this for 5 minutes. It's just like you talk about it until the conversation naturally wraps up, and then you move on to the next thing. It's very, like I said, it's very interesting. Like I said, it's way more of a conversation than it is a show, and I think that's why it's different. That's why I would suggest people to listen to it.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive.
Go for it. Go for it.
I was like, let's dive into AEW because I've been so excited to talk to you about this card that's developing because we've got like AEW leading up to their debut show on Wednesday. That's less than a week away before literally the wrestling landscape in the United States and around the world completely changes.
Yes. Me and Tiffany DM on Twitter quite often, and it's just literally that's been the whole conversation for like the last 3 or 4 days, and it's just like how excited we are to get there and what the show is going to be and everything. And I try to tell people, I've been trying to tell my friends that ask, I'm like, I have no idea what their TV show is going to look like. I was like, it's going to kind of look like their pay-per-views, imagine that, but it has to be advertiser friendly. They're a business. They're going to try to make money. They're not going to get 2 hours with no commercials. So it's going to be remarkably different. And I want to see what that different looks like.
Me too. And I saw something, I think that Matt Jackson had done an interview recently where he was sort of talking a bit about the flow of the shows and how they want to keep Being the Elite as a separate channel on YouTube and sort of have that be the edgier version of the storylines that they have on the show. So they were talking about how they wanted to keep, the Road to promos, like have that transfer over to television, which is a wonderful idea. And then if people want something that goes beyond the PG or PG-14 element, then they can go to Being the Elite. And I think he said, hear Frankie Kazarian drop up like 12 F-bombs.
Yes. It makes complete sense. Don't get me wrong. It makes sense to do them separately, but the whole thing is especially from the people that don't like AEW. They was like, man, I don't even like Being the Elite, and that's in their mind. That's what the TV show has to be. But you don't understand. There's this guy named Tony Khan that understands being the elite's not for everyone. He's very much, he's a business guy. He's input the amount of money, him and his family then put the amount of money up to just give the Bucks and Cody free reign to do whatever they want. This is going to be a program. It's going to be sports-based. The wins and losses, of course, are going to matter, but we don't know how they're going to present it yet. And that's why I tell everyone, just give it a chance.
Oh, absolutely.
Just see what happens.
Absolutely, man. Well, and there's a lot of different elements of professionalism behind AEW. You have people with expertise in a variety of ways, sports analytics, the National Football League, the NFL, major league broadcasting. And I think that is going to be taken seriously when they move over to TNT. I mean, we've seen some of that with their pay-per-views so far, their big pay-per-views. And yes, we've had some experiments, and maybe those haven't gone over with as many people as their other big pay-per-views have. But from what we've seen so far, there is a lot of professional programming at work. If you watch their Road to promos, if you watch, Double or Nothing and All Out, that's a lot to look forward to. And I'm excited to see this wrestling endeavor take off in a brand new direction because everything is new. And that to me is exciting. The fact that we have no idea what to expect as far as their booking, their match flow, the commercial breaks, the commentary. We have some bits from what we've seen so far, but we don't know what it's going to look like on TNT. And I can't wait to find out.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I haven't anticipated wrestling in a very, very long time. Like this. I mean, I go to WrestleMania every year, and of course, the week towards WrestleMania, I will get a little hype, and then of course, Wrestle Kingdom. You give me a couple weeks towards Wrestle Kingdom, and it'll get me hype.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I am so hyped for this.
But this, I've been waiting on this for like 3 months. It's like I've been doing a countdown on my my Facebook page, telling everybody I know, and it's just like, man, it's just I haven't been this antsy for something, and I can tell people I have built it up so much. I know I'm going to be there, and of course, once you're there, you enjoy it a little more. But I honestly can see myself being a little disappointed in the first show because I've built it so high in my head. You're like,
yeah.
I've been to All In, I've been to All Out, I've been to Double Nothing, 3 of the best experiences of my life. So you're asking me how the first TV is going to be. I'm like, it's going to be the best TV show ever. And that's a lot of pressure to put on anybody. It's like, but that's how I feel. That's how I feel, and it's just like, and as we're getting closer, we're just getting so much more criticism. I did have this thing I wanted to read from an article that I from a Twitter post, Voices of Wrestling. It's a fan. Twitter and stuff. Said, you can tell me I'm wrong again all you want. I've never seen a wrestling promotion dissected as meticulously as AEW. From utterly meaningless things like stickers on production trucks and dumb promos on BTE to this UK TV mess. Constant microanalyzation, and that's just this week. And I was like, amen. I put my hands up, and I think my boy Joe put this out. I'm like, praise Joe, because it was just like, dude, someone had to say it, and I know he caught a lot of flack, and they're like, well, you are a critical website, which they are, don't get me wrong. It's just, the way I put it is that they're holding a 9-month company to a 30-year standard.
Yes, 100% yes. Absolutely.
And it's like, that's what you're doing. You're holding AEW to the standard of WWE. And if they don't do everything exactly the way you want it done, or you would want it done, it's wrong. And it's just like, you have to understand, they're trying to reach millions of people. You can't get some people to agree on what to have for dinner. What everyone thinks that their ideal wrestling company is going to be completely different. Voices of Wrestling, Joe and Rich, they are straight. They want to see wrestling matches, competitives, and they call it bullshit. No outside interference, no anything like that. They just want to see 2 guys, one of being a belt, and them perform. I think the company would go out of business in 3 months if they presented it that way. Truly. That would be boring. I mean, to an American audience, no, because they're not really fighting. So I think you need some of the BS, but that's my personal opinion. Doesn't mean I'm 100% right. Doesn't mean they're 100% right. What AEW wants to present is a smorgasbord, a buffet, if you will, of stuff. So there's going to be parts that are not for you, and there's going to be parts that are for you.
Absolutely. But that's the great thing about the flow that we've seen from their show so far, at least with their pay-per-views, is that we do get those matches that are just awesome, hard-hitting wrestling. You get some great high-flying action wrestling. You get some great storytelling. You get some great emotional heartstrings stories. And you get just a whole, like you said, smorgasbord of wrestling. And I think that is what people want. I mean, the reality is they've only been officially in business for 9 months. They've had 4 or 5 shows, and now they're heading on to TNT, being broadcast around the world on major networks. There's going to be things that they learn on the fly. I believe I saw a report from Dave Meltzer that said that they thought that they had a UK deal locked in with ITV that would show live, airing the show live. Even I think as recent as 2 days before somebody announced what the schedule actually was going to be. And he said that came down to network conflicts between TNT and ITV4. And that's the reality, is that as much as we're comfortable sitting here at home on our phones, on our laptops or computers, talking about our thoughts on everything, there's so much happening in the background with advertisers, with networks, with ad contracts, all sorts of things that we're not privy to that are dictating these things. And really, they're learning at the same time as well, even with the expertise that they have to draw upon. And the best that they can do is come up with alternatives. I thought the Fight TV package was a fantastic alternative to the UK situation. Like, I get that watching a show 4 days after the fact at 8 o'clock in the morning on a freaking Sunday sucks. That really sucks. I hate it when New Japan doesn't air their U.S. shows live. There are U.S. shows happening this weekend. I have no idea when I'm going to be able to watch them. And when that happens, you lose kind of some of the interest in it, because not only is there the risk of being spoiled in the outcomes, but you miss that sense of camaraderie of experiencing the wrestling debut of a huge promotion, in this case, with people around the world. And that's such a big part of it. So I get that sucks, having a 4-day delay on that. But I also think that having a compromise solution of saying, okay, $5 a month, this is half the price of New Japan, half the price of the network for WWE. You can watch all of AEW on TNT shows live and have them available on replay afterwards. I think that's great. And man, if I could take advantage of that, I wouldn't be spending $25 a month on Sling right now. I'd be paying $5 on Fight and be thrilled about it.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things that people like yell for a la carte. They want a la carte so bad. You know, I just want to pay for what I want to watch. They gave you a specific chance right now to pay for what you want and move on. But I do want to I do want to say, because I don't want to gloss over this. I know our show is all about positivity, but I want to gloss I don't want to gloss over this. I want to hit it straight on. Cody was wrong for speaking too soon. It was fun. It was amazing. And I don't say that often. You won't hear that from me often because, you know, I kind of worship the ground the man walks on. But he was wrong for saying our UK deal is way better than WWE's. Was he speaking for what he thought was true at that moment? Yes, don't get me wrong. But he shouldn't have said anything. Until the ink was dry on the paper, he shouldn't have said anything. He built up hope. He set up a guarantee that nobody was prepared for. But, again, don't hold a 9-month company to a 30-year standard. This is his first job as an executive. This is the first job where he's, like, in charge of the secrets. You know, people rely on the decisions that he makes. He is going to make mistakes, just like any of the other 3 EVPs. And they're going to do the best they can to, resolve the mistakes. Because they do pay in America, I'm pretty sure there's something in their contracts that they just couldn't give it away free, or they probably would, but they can't. So it is what it is. You get the first month with our first show on October 2nd, you get 5 shows for $5. 5 shows for $5. Just think about that. That's $1 a show.
That's pretty sweet.
To watch a 2-hour network show. And from what I understand, when you buy on Fight TV, and this is what I understand, don't take this as gospel. You're going to get what they show, the dark matches they do at the pre-show and the dark matches they do at the end of the show. You're going to get all of that. And it's like, so basically you're going to get 3 hours of wrestling for $1. I don't know.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I was about to say, I remember when Impact first started, they were weekly pay-per-views for $9.99. So that was $40 a month to watch their weekly shows. You're talking about $5. $5. Now, maybe I sound like a pompous ass saying $5 is not a lot of money. So to some people, I'm pretty sure that is a lot of money. $5 is not a lot of money. I pay almost $200 for my cable bill a month. So I'm like you're $5. I'm not gonna sit here and cry over it. It's $5.
Yeah, I do want to say something about giving the benefit of the doubt before we move on to the card and the rest of AEW's news for this week. I don't consider giving the benefit of the doubt being an apologist for AEW or anything like that. I assume that a benefit of the doubt because I don't know what it's like to run a major wrestling promotion. I don't know what it's like to run an international company. And I would give the same benefit of the doubt to New Japan. And in fact, have given the same benefit of the doubt. Sometimes these things take patience. And when people are trying something new, which is at its core what AEW is, it's literally something new. There are going to be things to learn. And some of those things are going to be learning not to celebrate or get too happy and arrogant about international TV deal if the ink isn't dry yet. Maybe those are going to be things that they learn. But I'm willing to let them learn from that and to make those mistakes and to grow, because I want this alternative to succeed. I want there to be an alternative to WWE because that elevates everybody around them. The wrestlers within WWE are supportive of this. Kofi Kingston just put out a statement. I think he was giving an interview and they asked him about AEW and he was, saying more power to you guys. I wish you all the luck in the world. Competition elevates everyone. And the people who are in the wrestling business, the wrestlers themselves, are giving each other the benefit of the doubt on this. And if they can do that, I can do that.
Yeah. To use an example, WCW. Basically, Vince told Macho Man his wrestling career was over. He needed to be announcer. It was time to hand it off to the new guys. He told Hogan the same thing. It was time to hand it off to the new guys, right? And you look at the people that were a part of the NWO. A lot of the Hogan's boys were told that their wrestling career was over. Go find something else to do. But because WCW was a competitor that could pay the money that WWE did, there were a lot of people that found second careers because of it, right? Well, you got to think of this AEW the same way. I imagine they're not going to spend as recklessly as WCW. But let's say some of your favorites from the past, Zack Ryder, Dolph Ziggler, Kofi Kingston. These people, if at some point Vince or the WWE decides that they're done, that, their career is over, they ain't got it no more, they have somewhere else that they can make money. And if you care at all about the wrestlers, that is a great thing. Not a good thing, a great thing. You understand a lot of the reason, I'd say about 20 to 30% of the WWE roster is under contracted now, is to keep them away from AEW. So you're already seeing the effects on some of your favorite wrestlers' pocketbooks. So even if you find Kenny annoying or Cody brings up WWE too much, you have to root for them to be more options for people to work. I'm not saying you have to, but if you care about the wrestlers at all, rooting for more places for them to work, building competition to where WWE has to pay people longer is just smart.
Yeah, paying people more and benefits like extra time off in the year. Those are things that have directly started happening as a response to AEW's, explosion onto the American scene. And I think that's great.
Yeah, and I'm just like, if you like wrestlers, the people that entertain you, it's great, because there's going to be people that found second lives on the AEW. Look at Shawn Spears. I mean, they actually present him like he's a star and a credible wrestler. And you're going to get more of that. I mean, he's not the first WWE guy to jump. Jericho was done. Jericho was on the second match of WrestleMania, which, made him look for other places to work. Cody Rhodes was a curtain jerker or a jobber, and it made him look for other places to work. Now they actually have these other places to work. It's like I said, this has nothing to do with AEW in general. It just has everything to do with them having another place to work.
Absolutely agreed, man. 100%. Let's take a look at AEW's first show, because there's so much excitement and there's so much that's ramping up to this. They've been airing their commercials. They've been ramping up their Road to episodes. They've got a new control center, and, they've been really hitting the media blitz with promotions with Cody and Brandy giving interviews to represent the company. And as things are ramping up, we've only got a few days, like I said, less than a week before their debut show drops on TNT. And as I've been following their news and announcements, the card that they've developed so far just looks stacked beyond belief. I mean, you are going, I believe, with Tiffany, right?
Yes, we are definitely going. We're flying.
You guys have a pay-per-view caliber show that you're going to be seeing there.
Yes, and again, for competition, on the other side of the world, NXT is basically putting on a takeover.
Yes, exactly. I mean, let's just sit here and think about that for a second. All right, we've got weekly television show on a freaking Wednesday, okay, in the evening, and you've got a takeover quality show and an AEW pay-per-view quality show.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Cole versus Riddle, there's no way you would get that on cable TV.
No.
There's no way. That's a takeover match.
Yep.
That is a takeover match all the way. A lot of people think Riddle's the next guy. You're not getting that anywhere else. You're getting that because AEW exists. You're getting the Undisputed Era versus the Street Profits. Their rematch probably would have waited on the takeover. And now you're getting Shayna Baszler versus Candice LeRae, a women's match. And you're getting all three of those matches on NXT. This is not a hard sell for NXT. I told you where your TV should be on Wednesday. But I'm just saying, you're getting a takeover quality show because AEW exists.
I'm saying I'm going to be watching AEW Dynamite live and then watching a takeover caliber show right afterwards.
Yes, I even said, I was like, I put out my wrestling schedule on my Twitter today, and I was like, it flat out says I'm going to watch AEW on Wednesday. Well, there was a gap in TV on Thursday. There was no live wrestling. Now I'm just going to watch NXT on Thursday. Boom.
There you go.
2 hours. That's an extra day of 2-hour shows.
Of awesome 2-hour shows. It's exciting.
Yes.
All right. So
they're going to be killing it.
Dude, absolutely. Now let's look at this AEW pay-per-view caliber card, because the first thing I see when I look at this is Sammy Guevara and Cody Rhodes, which on paper, you're like, okay, this is strange, because not a lot of people are super familiar with Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara is incredibly talented and incredibly charismatic, and I love the story that they're building with this, that Cody Rhodes isn't really taking Sammy Guevara seriously because he's, getting ready to run this company on TNT, and he's looking forward to the championship match that they announced at Full Gear. And so it feels like he is just kind of dismissing Sammy Guevara entirely as a, one-off match, good hand sort of situation. And Sammy Guevara is young. He's hungry. He's impressive. He's got drive. He's athletic. Again, charismatic. I think this match is going to be fantastic. And if there's anything that we know so far from Cody Rhodes' matches in AEW is that he brings the storylines and really elevates everyone that he's wrestling against. I'm excited for this match. What are you looking forward to with Sammy Guevara and Cody Rhodes here that you're going to get to see live?
Yes, I want to give some different, commentary than I did on the first part of the show. Sammy G is one of those people that his attitude, from what I, on Twitter, on Reddit type thing, you found his attitude. He has all the talent in this world, and his attitude has kind of held him back. So it looks like he's gotten that in check. He doesn't no-show shows anymore, from what I understand. He looks like he's got all of that in check, and he's ready to go all in, for lack of a better term, with AEW. So now you got him and Cody, and Cody, again, face of the company, and he's showed against Darby Allin. It's not just about making him look good. He will do everything he can to make another person look good. Sammy Guevara is one of those people, he doesn't need a lot of help looking good. The dude has the confidence he has is because he's that damn good at this. He is good at this thing called wrestling. So when we look at Sammy Guevara, it's like the world's gonna just be, and it's not just gonna be this introduction. It's gonna be the world is gonna get to see this kid, a very good-looking, athletic kid, perform with a name that they know. Again, gonna put him over. Cody's gonna make him look good. He's gonna give him a lot of offense, and I'm very happy about it because, I didn't even know who Sammy Guevara was a year ago, around the time we were getting ready for NWA 70. Now he's just one of those people I see as very talented. And if you look at the personalities, if you wanna say there's Brandon Cutler on one side and Cody on the other, Sammy Guevara's personality is closer to Cody's than it is anywhere near Brandon Cutler's. You get what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's I'm very excited for it because you got two very confident, cocky people wrestling against each other. And the idea of heel-face dynamics doesn't really exist because if it did, this match really wouldn't exist because Cody's closer to a tweener than he is a face.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun to see how this match plays out, how the personalities emerge, and the story they tell in the ring for this match. What do you think about MJF versus Brandon Cutler? And what do you think about this match in the context of this sort of great opportunity that they've had with MJF slamming DND and Brandon Cutler totally owning playing DND, and you've got these two buff dudes that are playing the age-old rivalry between the geeks and the jocks. And then this crosses over into the mainstream, and suddenly you have hugely high-profile D&D figures and players who are chiming in on this. You've got sports magazines chiming in on this, and now you've got Luchasaurus and Brandon Cutler literally playing D&D in an AEW fashioned world on stream. So with that context of sort of AEW taking advantage of a happy accident of something going viral and capitalizing on it, do you think we might see any of that play off in their match together at AEW when it debuts on TNT?
Well, Mr. Cutler already says, wait till you hear my entrance. So I'm guessing it's going to be some kind of fantasy world theme on his entrance. And then, of course, his wife does is the seamstress, so she's going to cook up something for her husband's major television debut. And there's a shocking amount of crossover between the fantasy world, the video game world, and wrestling because, wrestling is a fantasy world. Wrestling is superheroes. Wrestling is comic books. Wrestling is all those things. You have murder clowns and wizards and undertakers and all these things. We got creepy perverts in AEW. So wrestling is all of those things. So, and you kind of get to see it play out live. So the idea of Brandon Cutler is going to be someone that definitely the AEW crowd connects with. To use a term Andy used on your show, he's a white meat babyface. He is the good guy. He is the family guy. Very much the family guy that just worked hard and not only got one contract but got two contracts. But he's still kind of nerdy, and him and his wife do cosplay. That's how she became the seamstress. She's a cosplay person. And it's just everything is wholesome about Brandon Cutler. It's there's no more better of a foil for him than MJF, who does not give a crap what anyone thinks about him. Does not want you to like him, does not care if you like him, because you're all poor and you're fat and you're nerds.
This is very true. I feel like this is going to be AEW's version of Juice Robinson and Jay White for New Japan, except elevated to a catastrophically high level where it's just going to be incredible, the amount of nuclear heel heat that MJF could garner and the amount of pure adoration and hope that Brandon Cutler can garner out of this. And I think that especially given the crossover that's happened with it, that there's already so much excitement going into this, whereas before it could be very easy to be like, okay, MJF and Brandon Cutler, they've been kind of picking at each other on Road to and being the elite. That's been fun. But now there's a story there. And there's a story that people like us really resonate with. Because as much as we watch wrestling, most of us aren't the jocks that are the wrestlers, you know? So a lot of us do identify with Brandon Cutler, with that sort of, you know, nerdy fascination with fantasy. There are so many different aspects of that culture that have hit mainstream that a lot of us are in part of, whether it's video games or comic books. And I think that we resonate a lot with that. And a lot of people also resonate with MJF and him tearing everybody down to size and giving no craps about it because he's better than us. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun and probably one of my favorite matches of the night, literally just based on their interactions with each other.
Yes, everything about Brandon Cutler is something, you know, you look into, you know, you look up to a point. I was telling Tiffany on this first half of this show, I don't get super emotional, but every time I hear his story, it always almost gets me to tears. It's just one of those things, not giving up on your dream, you know, keep working hard, getting where you have to get. You know, it's a lot of us that, you know, have moved on to their probably like 5th, 6th, 20th option as far as careers. We hear him, you know what I mean? But MJF is the opposite of that. He's the guy that made all the right decisions. He showed up in class. He knew exactly what he wanted to do and reach it. So there's such a contrast between those two that if you don't see the good versus evil, the whatever in it, that classic storytelling, I'm like, you're actually trying not to find it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And, you know, I'm actually pulling up Twitter right now, and MJF is currently mad at Brandon Cutler because he's playing D&D in a Burberry scarf.
Yes, because he is cosplaying as MJF.
It's just amazing. I love this so much. So looking down through the rest of the card, we've got Pac. I keep saying Pac versus Paige has been announced for this debut show. Again, this feels like an AEW pay-per-view match. It was supposed to be at Double or Nothing, and I would have thought that this would be at Full Gear because that's where the whole Full Gear thing, you know, sort of was leading to. But they have it for the debut on October 2nd for AEW on TNT. This is going to be exciting. I am so excited to see Pac and Paige go at it because Paige is like this heavy hard hitter. He's surprisingly athletic for his size, but he's this heavy hard hitter. Pac is this huge, towering beast of strength and athleticism. I think this is just going to be an all-out brawl, and it's going to be awesome. What are your thoughts heading into this? And again, you get to see this live, which is amazing.
Yes, I was supposed to see this live at Double or Nothing, and then it got changed because of unfortunate issues, visa issues, and Pac couldn't get in the country. So the fact is, we get undefeated Pac, who has beat pretty much the top guy in the company, Kenny Omega, versus Adam Page, who started off 2-0, who had came up with his loss. He lost his last match. And after losing the match that had been built up in his mind, he came out on a freaking horse. Where is his confidence level going to be going in Pac? Where is his focus level going to be going into Pac? It's going to be an amazing match with two young talents. With, you know, basically they could be the future the future of this company. I can imagine seeing this same match later on as the main event of a pay-per-view because these are such big stars. I expect a lot of physical. I expect this. I truly gonna say this. I expect this to be Meltzer's highest rated match of the show.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. This is going to be a show stealer. It's going to be fantastic.
I am more intrigued on what way they're going to go as far as the winner. I truly thought at Double or Nothing, the goal was going to be to have Paige beat Pac to build up his steam going into that world title match. Well, that's not on the line anymore. You know what I mean? And then Jericho still has a title defense to do. So do we go Pac winning it and then he says, hey, I should be Jericho's next challenger? Or do we do Hangman redeeming himself and then trying to chase after Chris Jericho. Either one makes a lot of story sense, but I truly don't have a finger on who's going to win the match. If I had to say, I'm talking about a social suplex labeled gun to my head, I'm going with Pac. But like I said, if it goes with Adam Page, I wouldn't be shocked.
Well, I will call Adam Page then. That way we both win either way.
Yes. Hangman, man, it's like, I know he can't come out to a horse on a ring every day, but if he could, that would be so awesome.
Oh my God. Especially Hunter Horse Helmsley.
Hunter Horse Helmsley. That was a great name, because I don't know if a lot of people know this, but a lot of people said back in the day when Triple H was in his younger years that he had a horse face.
Oh man, I didn't know that. Oh man.
So it was even worse.
Wow.
Yes.
That's fantastic. So we've also got Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, which I love when Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks team up. When they did their match at Fyter Fest, that was so fun, especially because they got the video game element in it too. That was just a blast. So that's going to be great. And they are fighting against Chris Jericho and two mystery opponents. Now, Twitter seems to think that those mystery opponents are going to be LAX. Who do you think is going to show up with Jericho against the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega?
I feel like there's two options, and I'm going to stick with the guest idea for the first half of the show. I think it makes the most sense for what they're doing. If you're not going to do someone new that we've never didn't even know was with the company, I think you go with the Dark Order.
Interesting.
Chris Jericho kind of has a dark kind of gimmick where he wears all the black in his music. You go with the Dark Order. They're also on the other half of the tag team tournament. So it adds to the story of the tag team tournament, which, of course, I think is going to end up, I will talk about it later, but I end up eventually think it's going to be Bucks versus the Dark Order anyway. So it adds an extra thread to that. And if it's not the Dark Order, my backup plan is that it's not that it's not a tag team. It's just two other people, which would be Shawn Spears and Jon Moxley.
Oh, that would be freaking amazing.
Because it would be the Elite versus WWE.
Oh, wow. I hadn't even considered that. I was just thinking about the amount of like monstrous brutality that would be in the ring there. That is awesome.
Yeah, so, Shawn Spears has a problem with Cody, which essence means you have a problem with the Elite. Jon Moxley has the rivalry with Kenny Omega. You go with those two people. It's WWE versus the Elite, main event on the show. Those are the two options I have. Probably not going to be either one of those. It'll probably end up being LAX, but I went for the more fun guesses.
That is really clever, and I love it. Yeah, because I was like, okay, well, everybody seems to think LAX. I don't know, because initially, I don't remember who the other person was, but I was like, okay, well, maybe he comes out with like CM Punk and somebody else. And I know we've talked about CM Punk and all that stuff before, but there were so many different rumblings back and forth. But now I think that not only am I happy to move away from that entirely, but I think that from the news of this week, it seems to be that may head in a different direction. Whatever. I don't want to talk about CM Punk. So it was like maybe two single people, but I didn't know who, or LAX. I love the idea of having a group of badass monster dudes, vicious beaters, brawlers coming out with Jericho. And I love the sort of correlation to AEW versus WWE too. I think that's great. The Dark Order is interesting because my husband said the same thing, that he thinks the tag team tournament is going to end up being the Young Bucks versus the Dark Order. And, if the Dark Order is going to do well and prosper in this tag team tournament, regardless of whether they win or make it to the finals, they need something to push them and elevate them and get some real interest on them, get people to know their story, to care about them, to want to see them stomped to oblivion, or to want to see them succeed. And I think that a situation of having them come out with Jericho, I think that works. I never would have thought of that, but I could totally see that working.
I mean, they're a Canadian tag team. He's Canadian. There's a bunch of ties they have together, and they both kind of hate everyone and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that works.
Yeah.
Man, that would be a lot of fun. So I'm excited to see who they bring out. And then I think the last match that they have announced, I saved this for the last because this is a championship match. This is Nyla Rose versus Riho for the AEW Women's World title. I've got Nyla. Who you got, Floyd?
I am Team Nyla all the way. I like Riho. I think she is a really good wrestler, and I think you could do a lot of good storylines with everyone because she's so small. So everyone that you put up against her will seem like they had a shot to win. So I could see why you would go Riho. But I think Nyla, first of all, she was at the first press conference. She's been a face of the company from the very beginning. Second of all, when you talk about diversity, you can't get no more diverse than here. She's a half African American, half Native American, transgender person. I mean, she is diversity all by herself. That's another thing. And she's a powerhouse. And to me, having a powerhouse as your champion always makes it a bigger threat. So whenever someone finally overcomes the powerhouse, they look even more strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And it builds up the powerhouse herself too. And yeah, I mean, she is literally the personification of diversity too. But I think also, we saw her performance at the Casino Battle Royale and at All Out, and she was there from beginning to end. She's got it. She's putting in the work. And the thing is, this may be an unpopular opinion, and this may even be an unpopular opinion between us. So this will be interesting to see. But the women's roster, as fleshed out and as good as it is, there are a lot of people on the women's roster who are new to this style of wrestling on a grand stage and new to wrestling between people from different countries and different styles. So there's been a lot of training in the background, a lot of doing the work that I've seen these women put in just by the very nature of the progress that I've seen from pay-per-view to pay-per-view. And I think Nyla is putting in the work. And obviously Riho is too. She's been wrestling since she was 9 years old. But I think that we're going to see a lot of development in the women's division. And I think that it's going to be awesome having Nyla as champion, where we get to see the other women within the roster climb this battle of glory in order to overcome her and take that crown.
Yeah. And, it's the idea of fresh. You got two people that a lot of people don't know going for the title. But if unpopular opinion, I mean, if you ask me what is a weakness of AEW, and I'd be like, right now, the name value of their women's division.
Yeah.
There's just not any, I mean, Britt Baker, very talented wrestler, but not a lot of name value. Nyla Rose, same way. Their most talented people, excuse me, I used the wrong word. Their most named people are Awesome Kong, who really is trying to transitioning out of the wrestling world, and then Aja Kong, who's pretty much past her prime also. So they will be building up new stars on this women's division. I was hoping upon hope that Tessa Blanchard's contract was up so they could give them like a face to start their company on, but they're going to go a little different on this women's division. And you know what? You might not like the first champion. You might not like it. You might not like the second champion, but I guarantee you by the time they get to 3, 4, and 5, you will respect this division as a whole.
Absolutely. And, if you look at the division in WWE, for instance, it took a lot of time for that to grow and develop into the sort of powerhouse that it is today. And even that was by following the trail of some happy fortuitous accidents. So it takes time to develop that and to nurture that. And I'm really excited to see the women that they have put their stock into here, because there's a reason why everyone in the EVP and the talent scouting of AEW have chosen these women. So to give Riho as an example, all I've seen from her was, the incredible Joshi match that we saw at Double or Nothing. But I've also kind of gotten the feeling that they're still getting used to the cadence and the flow and the rhythm of different styles of different people from different countries, right? When I saw the Kenny Omega match, it was a mixed tag match. It was Kenny Omega and Yuka Sakazaki versus Riho and Michael Nakazawa in Taiwan. I think at like 2:00 in the morning. Riho was amazing. When I saw her in her element, working with, an environment that she knew and was familiar with, and people that she knew the rhythm of, you could tell, like, the back of her hand, she was absolutely phenomenal. And after watching that match in Taiwan, suddenly I was like, okay, that is why Riho is here. That is why she is the contender up against somebody like Nyla Rose, because that woman can fly. That woman can steal. That woman can hang with the best of them. And she was chopping up Kenny Omega. Like, it was nuts. So this match, I think, is actually going to be really, really good. Both women have a lot at stake here. Nyla Rose is a powerhouse. She has been just phenomenal in her presence in the last few pay-per-views. And I can't wait to see this match. I cannot wait to see her wearing that belt.
A monster versus small guy, a small person, is the easiest story to tell in wrestling, and I think that's great because it's a story that people that might not have watched wrestling in a long time, they are giving AEW a chance. You don't need to know the story when you have one person significantly larger than the other. That's the story, If Big Show's wrestling Rey Mysterio, you don't need to know that Big Show hates Rey Mysterio or Rey Mysterio hates Big Show. It's the fact that this 7-foot guy is fighting this 5'3" person. So in this case, it's the fact that this near 6-foot Nyla Rose is wrestling against the barely 5-foot Rio. There's your story. You don't need to know anything about each wrestler. That's why this match is perfect for their title match.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. It looks like they've also got Moxley scheduled to appear, so maybe we'll see that in the Jericho surprise match. It'll be interesting to see what role he plays, what he has to say when he shows up. I wanted to sort of segue into some of the news that's been happening this week. So I know we already touched on the UK ITV deal and the fight package, but I am obsessed right now with AEW's recent announced partnership. So it was Batman Day a couple days ago, which is where like everybody celebrates Batman and DC Comics. And, it was fun. Twitter was filled with Batman. And Cody Rhodes put out a graphic that said Batman is all elite. And I thought that this was just, him having fun with Batman Day. But it turns out DC Comics actually put out an official announcement on their Instagram announcing a partnership with AEW. Now, so far, what we've seen from this has been official DC artwork of the AEW roster. They have said that there will be more details and more information forthcoming out of this. I believe they mentioned a while ago that they wanted to look into comic books. This seems like an obvious step in that direction. Do you think we might start seeing AEW comic books out of DC Comics?
People ask what's the greatest thing about Tony Khan being the owner or person running the company. It's that he's a big old nerd. That's the greatest thing about it. So, like, some companies are just starting, they're 9 months old, and they're like, let's just make sure TV's right. Let's make sure this is right. Oh, you know what? Never mind that. Screw that. We're going to make a deal with DC to put out us a comic book. This is like, seriously, like 2-3 years down the line, company thought. They're doing this right now. That is,
it is amazing.
So amazing. And the artwork has been cool. I've been sharing it as much as I can. Some of my friends that like not into wrestling, but they're into comic books, I presented them some of the people, and I'm like, dude, understand, this wrestling company is going to be different. I'm like, you might think you know what wrestling is, but they're going to turn it up on side down on their head. And the fact that they're doing a DC deal before the TV show even gets out there, it's going to be, again, the comic book area for DC, of course, also always needs help, because comic books are, at times fledgling, but, you're trying to bring them back up. And, then you have the idea of, Time Warner. I think they own the DC Comics rights, right?
I have no idea, man.
I believe Time Warner or Warner Brothers puts out the DC movies. So you just got this whole, like, they're all helping each other type thing. I can't think of what it's called, but it's all synchronized and they're helping each other. I'm down. I'm not even a comic book reader, but the pictures I've seen have looked freaking cool, and I would pick those up.
Dude, I'm not a comic book reader, but my daughter is, and I showed her Nyla Rose as a DC comic book, like, monster. And you've got Jon Moxley, and you've got Jericho, you've got Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, and then tonight they released Hangman Page. And, like, this is going to be amazing. I am legitimately going to go to my comic store, and my kid's going to be thrilled because she freaking loves going to the comic store. I'm going to pick up every single one of these because this is so fun. And just like we were talking about before, there's a fantasy element with wrestling. There are heroes. There are villains. There is struggle. There is sacrifice. There are these triumphs of stories and glory in wrestling. And that is what happens in the comic universe. And this is the perfect crossover for that. So I want to get these comic books. I want to get the posters. I want to get them signed. Like, I am all over this. This may be the thing that makes me a comic book reader again.
Yes. I will buy these. I don't know if I would ever go full into comic books, but I would completely buy these because it's just, supporting the company I like, and everything looks cool. Comic books about wrestlers, I didn't know a lot of them exist, but I would definitely be down with this. I am as excited. I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited about where it goes. Cody has been on the show Arrow, which is a DC property. It's just a lot of different things going around. They're all connecting.
Oh, it's going to be so fun. So there was another bit of really interesting news with Cody this week, actually. And I think this was just finalized today. So WWE pulled their NXT UK talent out of a farewell show in the UK indie scene. I don't recall. It was a Southside Wrestling Entertainment. So they had this big show that was supposed to be, I think, a farewell show. And they had a ton of NXT UK talent signed to it. Well, WWE pulls them out and they're like, put out this announcement, they're really crestfallen, and it really sucks because a lot of people bought tickets to see this show based on that card. So Cody Rhodes does what I think is just masterful. So he goes in not only to help the indie scene, not only to sort of put in some goodwill with the UK audience because they just had this sort of snafu with ITV, but really to have their talent. I think he said that they're sending MJF. I forget who the other person is that they're sending over there.
MJF, Shawn Spears, and Cody and Brandy are going.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, this is a big deal, and they're going in there, and now they've got a great show. They've got WWE going, sorry, guys, we don't really care about you. AEW gets to come in and be like, nah, dude, we still got your back. Let's do this. And then you get a great freaking show out of it.
Yep. And, of course, as soon as Cody does this, there's like, people like White Knight, And, people always got something to say. And it's one of those things. What I'm learning, because I'm having to learn it from my good friend Tiffany, because you and Tiffany very much have more followers than I do. You're very much more Twitter active than I am. But to ignore people, I am
Yes.
learning to ignore people. And it is hard because I am one of those people that I defend my friends. And of course you come at me, I will literally just ignore you. But when you come at my friends and people I look up to, I want to answer all of them. And I'm learning that I have to just not just scroll by. They had their opinion, and me replying just gives their opinion more of a voice.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reality is that some people just want to crap on AEW. That's why everybody was so mad about stickers on a truck for a day and a half. Like, that's ridiculous. And in this situation, okay, so they can both have both possibilities here can exist simultaneously, and it's still a good thing overall. Yes, it's a good PR move. If I was in a position to make a good PR move like this, I absolutely would. It is a smart thing to do. At the same time, it also speaks to what they have been talking about this whole time, which is celebrating the roots of where they come from. And where they come from is the indies. That's where they come from. And so, until they had AEW on TNT locked in, they had their talent all over the indie circuit. They still do in some cases. They are not ignoring the indies simply because they are on national and international television now. And when you have a situation where your competition pulls their talent out because they can't suddenly be on the indies anymore, and you have the opportunity to be like, hey, you know what? We have these guys. We would love to come there. Hell yeah, you do it. Like, I'm not even going to try and be like, it's not a PR thing. It is a PR thing, but it's also an indie thing. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I cannot agree more with that. It's just, if doing the right thing also gives you good publicity, why not?
Right?
It's like, why not? And it's like, if it's me, I'm not going to tell anybody how to spend their money or how to do their thing. If I'm the guys from AEW, my, except for NJF because he works against his gimmick, but the other three people, my autographs and stuff in the UK would be free.
Absolutely.
Personally, just to kind of give something back to the UK. I'm not telling somebody how to spend their money, whatever. Or if you do it for free, it might, make it where, no one wants to actually watch the wrestling show. So maybe not free. I don't know how it all works. Like I said, I am more than willing to say I don't know everything. I am more than willing. Maybe that's why maybe that's why I'm not super over. It's because I'm more than willing to say, hey, there's shit I don't know about wrestling. But this just seemed like a slam dunk. This is like, your competition literally wounded a small guy. And you get to come in and say, as the medium-sized guy, we're going to help you out. We're literally going to pick you up off the ground and help you make some money. And I'm pretty sure they're not charging them. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not going to say that 100%, but, they're going to help out. And that's just really, really awesome and advantageous and smart. Everything is good about this.
Absolutely. I mean, what's the alternative? You have WWE pull out, and then they're left with half of their card. And then AEW goes, oh, man, people on the internet are going to be upset at us and yell at us. And they're the same people who've been yelling at us the entire time anyway. We better not help them out because we don't want those people on the internet to yell at us.
Yeah.
No, that's ridiculous. The reality is that, I think that as AEW and TNT ramps up and NXT ramps up, the competition is real. The competition is rampant. And I think that is both good and bad. I think it's great that there's so much passion in the fan base. I think that it's wonderful that there's takeover caliber shows pitted up against an AEW pay-per-view caliber show. That sort of thriving competition and passionate fan base is wonderful. But it's also giving me personally, and I can probably speak for you as well, the opportunity of just keep scrolling because I don't have time to hear people complain about trucks. I don't have time or want to spend the time to listen to people complaining about somebody doing a good thing. And yes, they're doing a good thing that also has a benefit for them, but I'm okay with that. I would be okay with that if WWE were doing that, like those things are okay. I'm excited about the wrestling world. And the reality is with AEW that even though we have this sort of ramping up of competition, I'm excited for something new. I'm excited for something I haven't seen before. I'm excited for the diversity of their roster. I'm excited for the possibility of Nyla Rose being the first AEW Women's World Champion. I'm excited for Kenny Omega to be losing himself in psychosis. I'm excited for a tag team tournament. I am thrilled about the world of wrestling that we have that has been set on fire with both NXT and AEW. And I think that we're all benefiting greatly from this.
To use an old school term, word. Everything you just said was perfect. It's the most exciting time to be a wrestling fan. And I even say sometimes I go far to the left or far to the right as far as AEW, WWE. But honestly, my true heart is in the middle. I just love really, really good wrestling. I love wrestling presented like a sport. I love wrestling where winners matter. I unfortunately, that goes against the IWC. I love the bullshit in wrestling. I love interferences. I love dirty finishes. But I've been watching wrestling for 38 years. That was wrestling to me growing up. The bad guy never just won. He cheated. So, but I love it all, and it's colorful. I mean, it's as far as a form of entertainment, I don't think you get a form of entertainment that, to me, that reaches as many emotions as professional wrestling. I can find myself laughing. I can find myself crying. I can find myself happy. I can find myself dejected. And at the end of the night, no matter what emotions that I feel, I enjoy it.
Hell yeah, dude. We are existing in a freaking fantastic world of wrestling right now. And you get to see this live. Yes. We will be watching with you, of course, online, but you will get to see this kickoff live and in person. And I think that's so amazing. And I think, as a side note, it's also amazing because there's been so many of us who are traveling to so many shows now because of this rise in wrestling and fun. And we get to see each other. We get to see friends that we saw at the last show. We get to travel around the country and just be in this world of thrills and excitement. And I think that's wonderful. And I can't wait for next week when we come back and we get to talk about how the show went and what your experiences were seeing it live and how they were different from the celebrations that we had on Twitter watching it live. It's going to be amazing.
Yes. And that's why I always say I live in a level of positivity and I live in a level of gratitude. I would have never thought when I was young that I'd be in a position to go to see as many wrestling shows as I do now, to meet as many friends as I've making as many friends as I have, to have people that I live nowhere near that we're coordinating flights and times and things like that so we can get there close to the same time and hang out with each other. I mean, get to hang with social media, Dave Hancock. I get to hang with him this weekend or on Wednesday. I only get one day, so I get to hang with them. It's just like my world has expanded exponentially because of wrestling. So when you be like, well, this guy hates WWE. No, I don't. WWE, I've made some of my closest friends in the world at WWE events. I don't hate AEW. ROH is boring, but I don't hate them. Impact. Like I said, I can be honest and still be like, but I can still be grateful. I am grateful for all these people that put their bodies on the line and the people that do the lighting and all these things, because it seriously makes my life exponentially better. So as I look forward to AEW, as this show, this is our 30th episode, so this is a big one. But it feels like next week is when the show's going to start, because next week AEW is just a company. You know what I mean? They're a wrestling company. You know what I mean? Weekly television, pay-per-views, they're going to be able to bring it or they're not. But they're a full-fledged company. There's no like, oh, can't wait till TV starts, or it's I can't wait for this. No, they're a wrestling company. They're a wrestling company just like everybody else, and they're gonna have to bring it, or they're not, or they're gonna have to bring it, or unfortunately, we're gonna have to say stuff we don't want to say.
And we will too. That's
we
the thing.
We will. If it's not good, I'm gonna tell you it's not good. I promise. I am positive, and if something is in the middle, I'm gonna put the positive spin on it. Don't get me wrong. But if it's bad, I'm gonna be like, it's bad. That's how it's gonna be. So we're gonna see what they bring. Yeah, we're going to see what they
Absolutely.
bring. And I'm looking forward to talking to Amy and Tiffany and hearing all their thoughts on it as we bring into this new world.
I can't wait, man. It's going to be awesome.
Yes, it's definitely going to be awesome. Do we got anything else to cover?
No.
I don't know.
I think that's it, man.
The checklist. And so I'm going to get a little more sentimental. I thank everyone that has ever listened to a second of this show. If you ever even downloaded and didn't listen to it, I thank you also. 30 episodes in, I am very internally grateful for Jeremy and Josh for asking me to do this. I will do this as long as as long as they want me to, and as long as there is AEW. I will remind you to make sure on whatever podcast app you have. I'm getting some feedback over there, but whatever podcast app you have, make sure you are following the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Also, make sure you're following Amy and Andy Enjoy Wrestling. That's another good one. And if you have YouTube, make sure you're watching, what is it called? Heart of the Elite with Tiffany. So make sure you're following all three of those, because that's all a little piece of us. I think you will enjoy all the shows. But, Amy, do you have anything else?
No, man, I'm good.
All right. So no matter if it's work, school, or work, home, or school, I'm reminding you, always do your best to be elite. Thanks.